Good Meridian. How is everyone doing today? Got our little DeFi Kingdoms calendar plugged in. We got our Serendale summoning event. Today's the 29th. Still another week and a half, week and a couple of days for summoning over there on Serendale. The merchandise Gen0 order deadline is coming up in 2 days, so we want to make sure that you've got all your merchandise ordered by Saturday or in 2 days. And I guess you have to also submit your link for the social media stuff, right? To approve Tuesday stuff going on. And then of course your merchandise Gen0 entry deadline, order deadline here on the 31st, entry deadline on the 15th. So thanks for probably TuneFed, I'm gonna say, has helped flesh out a little bit of this, created by TuneFed. Yep. So we've got a little bit of our DeFi Kingdoms calendar, and if some of y'all want access to this, I think I've given a few more of you access to edit this calendar as well. This calendar is available through the Discord that we've got for Darlantis under the DeFi Kingdoms section, DeFi Kingdoms category there. And then we have got, I think it is pinned, as well as just the very last entry in there, right, with the link. So y'all can save that. All right. How is everyone doing today? Tim Butters, Zelf, Lowtech, Wowie, Digital Sniper, Sir Mir, welcome on in, everybody. How are y'all doing? Lots of people just jumping in right away. We've off to a good start, I guess. Let's see what we've got going on here. How are y'all doing? What are y'all up to today? What are your main goals for today? I feel nervous about Jade because I'm still in the gardens. Zelf, I wouldn't be too worried about it. We talked about this yesterday. I understand the concern. It is a legitimate concern, right? Anytime value is going down, we want to look at it. But let me step you through something that might help you feel a little bit better. All right, Zelf? So give me a moment and I will show you a thing or two. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, so take everything I say with a grain of salt, get other input as well. But let me maybe give you a little bit of something that's going to help, right? I know it's dipping down. It's going to go down lower. We know it is. We set, what the heck? What am I looking at here? It's almost like straight down. Let's refresh this. There we go. That's a little bit better. Okay. Yeah, let me, it is okay to feel nervous, Zelf. Let me give you a little bit of insight and also just remind y'all, we talked about it yesterday. It's probably still going to go down, but I think I gave some interesting feedback. Y'all please act responsibly, right? Just because I say something or because I'm not overly concerned about something doesn't mean there's not a reason to be concerned. But personally, I'm not concerned about it, and I'll show you why I'm not concerned about it here in a minute. Sir Mir says, I'm getting ready to get into those gardens. Yes, get into those gardens. Also lining up a Congo line of summons. Yeah, gotta do that. That's also good. We need to make sure we're on top of that. I'm gonna get a Gen0 in this raffle. Yes, I like that attitude. Very positive. We're all gonna get a Gen0, right? I think there is something to be said for speaking reality into existence. And I know it sounds a little mumbo jumbo, but definitely, I think, speak your reality into existence. Tim Butter says, I summoned a Gen 2 9/9 Elite skill hero, looking forward to trying summons and an exalted skill. Wow, congratulations, Tim. That's pretty good. I'm glad that more of y'all are trying to do those things. I'm glad that we've got some content creators out there inspiring y'all to go for this, because I do think that having some of these elite, exalted, and I guess ultimately transcendent, what are we calling those now? Traits? I think they're called traits now. Is going to be good. See, I know, but feelings and emotions got to step back. Absolutely right, Zelf. Those feelings and emotions really get in our way as humans quite a bit. It's just a fact of life. I think having feelings and emotions is good. I mean, we want to be aware. We do not want to get sideswiped by something out of nowhere. And so having some feelings about something and an emotional play is something that I think can be helpful. We don't want to totally dismiss it. But like I said, Zelf, give me a minute, and I think I'm going to give you some other context that might help you out. I exited my Jade LP, Clay LP in the gardens last night, moved everything into a box since it's down. Gonna wait and see a rise in a box and then get back and then exit back out. Yeah, so certainly some people want to get out of Jade. Nothing wrong with that necessarily. Lotek says, think I'll get back into some gardens once the price settles. That is an okay strategy also, right? So getting out of Jade now, since you know it's going to go down, and then back into Jade after a little while could be another play. Not going to say any of that is bad at all. Stumposaurus, hey, welcome on in. Says, today I think I'll get back into some gardens once the price settles. See, it's very interesting. I want y'all to notice how some people are getting in, some people are getting out. There's not a big consensus. Even if there was a consensus, I would say that, you know, different people are going to play it different ways. Different people are going to have different strategies. I don't think there's any wrong way to do it. We do want to make sure that we have a good variety of information to make our personal decisions. And so I'm going to, that is one reason also why I like to not only hear what y'all are going to do for myself, but I think it helps other people also get a better consensus. There might be one or two of y'all out there that has a unique look on something or says something new that maybe several of us have not heard before. And then also just, you know, if 90% of you are feeling one way, that can also be a good indication of something to do, right? Let's see, some sort says, today I'm finally rewriting the code for my leveling questing bot. Awesome. I really need to get into the coding aspect. I've been talking about doing some coding for, oh my goodness, months now, I think. And I just keep getting sidetracked. So I'm really really glad to see that some of y'all are getting into that. And you got a leveling questing bot. That's really nice. How long have you been working on that? And what's it written in? I'm going to suspect Python, but maybe something else. I'm curious. Lowtech says, congrats, Tim. Yep, absolutely. Wowee, have you seen my rating sheet I just released before today's AMA? No. Wowee, I have not seen your rating sheet. If you, man, I wish I could drop links into chat. You can drop links into Discord. So if you want to come into the DeFi Kingdoms section on Discord and just drop a link for it, I'll pull it up and we can have a look at it. I love showing off y'all's work on stream so we can all see it. Is it cool to post a link oh, yeah. I mean, if you've got Twitter or something, but go ahead and post it into the Discord and then I can pull it up from there. I wish y'all could post links into YouTube stuff, but I don't think you can. Well, TuneFed can. So let's see. Looks like TuneFed's got a link for us. TuneFed is just so amazing. Thanks, TuneFed. Let's see here. Hang on a second. I need to make sure that I'm not clicking certain things here. Let's see, go to site.
Okay.
Wowee says, after much deliberation, 15 gallons of coffee, and at least 400 bloaters sacrificed, I bring you the first rendition of Wowee's Super Speculation and Rating Sheet. Awesome. Okay, let's check this out. Let's see. Last update today. All right. A couple of disclaimers. You can find more mechanics and further definitions of status effects, mechanics, terminology sheets. Initial ratings are based off of the individual abilities only. It takes into account how likely the ability will synergize with others, but not the synergy itself. This is intended to be a starting point for people considering their heroes build. And let's see. In fact, well, I guess TuneFeds dropped the link in here, so y'all can get it all from that. Let's see what else we got in here. And then finally, the remarks are solely my own opinions based on the tens of thousands of hours put into strategy games. I do not possess any insider information whatsoever, and all of my ratings are purely speculative. Those are oftentimes the best kind, but we do need to take it with a grain of salt, so I appreciate your pointing that out. Reach out to me on Discord if you want to discuss theory crafting or feel my ratings were off, or even help rate a hero. All right, so awesome, cool. So what we've got here is we've got the trait types, right? Poison Blade, Blinding Winds, Heal, Cleanse, Critical Aim. I'm not going to read off all of this stuff. Y'all have the link in the chat that y'all can get to. And so then, as an example of some things that Wowee has in here, is there's a rating. So I think most of y'all have seen the ratings, A, B, C, D, and then of course there's like a super class and all this other kind of stuff. So we've got a couple of things in here: B rating, S, double S, C, D, triple S even, and so on, for each of these things. And I guess at Wowee, these are your own personal ratings for this. And then we have the trait, either for the active and the passive, we got B1, B2, B3, A1, A2, A3, and so on. For the basic, for the advanced, the elite, and the exalted, right? And then we've got names like Poison Blade, deals damage to target enemy equal to 1 times basic. This attack has an 80% chance to poison target enemy. And then we've got some attached functions. And then finally over here, we've got these remarks, right? And so let's see what Wowee has to say about some of these remarks. Perfect for long drawn out fights, ideal for bosses in PvE, and to stall computer maybe in PvP, or as potential tank killer countered by Cleanse, will gain rating depending on if the poison status stacks or not. And I guess we don't know that yet. And then 20% chance that this is just a basic attack. Yeah. So really interesting stuff. For those of y'all that want to really look at some of the mechanics or have far out speculations, I think this is really cool that some of y'all are already looking at this. I would be a little cautious. I mean, as time gets closer, things are looking really good. I'd be a little cautious to put a whole lot of weight into some of this stuff, but I'm really glad to see that we're getting to the point where we can make better speculations, right? More accurate speculations. Blinding Winds, incredible debuff with an additional 50% chance to negate physical damage on top of your current invasion chance or evasion chance, and persists until removed, assuming by cleanse or item. Valuable for evasion, tanking, gains rating when paired with foresight, 20% chance is just a basic attack, right? Again, I'm not going to read this whole sheet to you, but wow. Lots of time has gone into this. So Wowee, thank you very much for making this available to the DFK community. And I can't wait to take a closer glance at this when I have a little bit more time. But then also, I can't wait to see what other content creators and people with opinions are going to say about some of these things that have a lot more deeper insight than I do as far as what this goes. Because I think, you know, you've put some time into this. And I'm going to guess that you're pretty close to a lot of this stuff. Like you said up here earlier, you have put a lot of time into other strategy games. And just like, you know, I have and all this. And I do think that there is some kind of commonality between some of these types of games and similar stuff. I know that Magic the Gathering is something that some of the devs are pulling some of their stuff from. So those people that have played that game, I never have. I've never played Magic. But those people that have, and even those people that have played other similar games to that, definitely are going to have a much clearer vision about what some of these things are going to be. I think Wowie has given me one other little bit of direction in here. If you click any of the highlighted terms, they take you to the relevant mechanic in the next tab. Oh, wow. Yeah. So we're not totally done looking at this. Let's read on a little bit more. So here down at the bottom of this very first tab, abilities and ratings, below is an example. And so we've got something like the Archer here, highly defensive and physical unit, unfortunate forger, because we've got forging there, I guess. Able to hit backline enemies due to Archer subclass. Only drawback is rarity. Yeah, that's a bad rarity perhaps. Suffers from lack of stat growth. Yeah, because again, mythics are going to have a much better stat growth. So yeah, this is really good insight. Damage and defensive stats will most likely be padded by armor and weapons after crafting comes out. Absolutely. So we've got A4 is rated an A. You know what would be really, really cool? Wowee. I don't know if you want to work with, I don't know if you know how to do some programming yourself or want to work with a programmer. But what would be really cool is for somebody, DFK Helper, Zelis is in the house. Woohoo! Zealous, you might even want to, I don't know if Wowie is going to be doing really good at programming. This is something, well, of course, you're doing your own thing, Zealous. So this might not be something else you want to take on. But what I'm thinking about is being able to have something like an Adventures in DeFi Kingdoms has, a website where you go in, you can plug in a hero ID, and then it gives you like a, kind of like a Carfax. You know how, if we say go to Carfax, or something like that, and it gives you information about your car. You put in the car's VIN number and it comes out and it tells you these are the types of things with the car to look out for, or these are things that might be good or bad or something like that, right? And it gives you a rundown for that make and model of the car and what you specifically might want to watch out for. It would be really cool if we had that same type of thing for heroes, put together by people that really understand, like me. I don't really know about cars very much, right? And so a place like Carfax, or something for me to go in and put in a VIN number or a car make and model and year, and then it's going to spit out a lot of good information, is really helpful when I'm trying to buy a car. Same type of thing I feel will be good for these heroes, because personally, I don't know if I even want to take the time to dive full in to finding out what's the best hero, right? But I would like to manage and run a good hero, right? And so I've got Mosh, who's going to help me out a little bit with picking out a good hero pretty soon. But it's kind of like the Carfax thing. I want to drive a decent car, right? I want to own a decent car. I want to have it reliable. I want to have it safe. I want to have all this kind of stuff. But I do not want to learn enough about cars to get under the hood to know all that stuff. I want a professional to do all that research for me. And then I find that professional that I trust, or that website that I trust, that gives me the information. and then I can make a good decision, like I want this type of thing in a car, because there might be different people that want different things in a car. They might put different levels of value on a safety factor or a gas efficiency factor or other features in the car, like heated seats or whatever, right? Different people might want different things. And the same thing with heroes. You might know what you want a little bit more from that car, from that hero, and to be able to have it broken down, like, oh yeah, rarity is a drawback. It's good to point that out, because maybe some people wouldn't have noticed that, and they wouldn't have even made the connection that the rarity is going to cause a bit of a slowdown in the stat growth as compared to a mythic, that is going to have faster growth, right? So speaking of Zealous, I have got my sheet over here. Let me catch up with Zealous real quick and see what he's telling me. Could you do my link tune? Yes, definitely. If Zealous is in here, definitely drop a link to DFK Helper with a reminder that several people won a Gen 0 with less than 1% chance last time. Absolutely right. Yeah, there was a lot of people that won. I think says your sheet is going to be an encyclopedia for a lot of discussion. Oh, absolutely right. So, thanks for theory crafting. It's a passion of mine. Absolutely, yeah. All right, Zealous. So at first when I saw your sheet, I thought you were talking about my sheet right here for DFK Helper, which I really need to get back into because it's getting a little bit of a mess with me juggling a bunch of things around, and I need to add this stuff properly. But yes, if y'all are not using DFK Helper, it has been a lifesaver for me. I know that I also use the waifu bot as well, but DFK Helper definitely has a lot of nice features that I think are better if you have enough heroes to be able to afford that. And I think even having 10 or so could be good to afford it, right? Lots of good stuff here. And all these features get better every day. All right. Let's get back to a little bit of this WoWy stuff and finish up what we're doing here, because I don't want to get too sidetracked. I just saw Zelly's in the chat there. Let's see. So having a Carfax thing or something where I can plug in a hero ID, I think would be really good. I love the way that you've kind of said a little bit about this here as an example, so that's really cool. So then something else that you said, Wowie, in chat is if you come and click on a item like skin hardening shield, and we click on that, it looks like we have that in maybe several different places, and we can go to these tabs, like maybe here. Let's see what that does. Not sure what that's really doing. Oh, just copy link, and then maybe I can, it doesn't really go there necessarily, but then I can paste a new link. Is that what's happening? And then it takes me to here, which I'm not really sure what that's about. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to be seeing there, Wowie. So I'm clicking on a link here, and it pulls up a little chart. Then I click on that. Oh, that did something. That time it did something. So then it takes us to exhausted, right? So if we look at something here, like let's try to find it, bleed, and we click on that. It's not really going there, but then if I click on this, then we go to bleed. So I don't know why it's not working for me. I'm assuming, Wowie, that you've got it all plugged in, and maybe that my computer just is doing weird things with the link or something like that. The links are listed in the order of the keywords, so as long as you're clicking on a different one, I get it. So if we do something like poison, we got 2 entries. Maybe this is the first entry, and so we could see it again if we clicked a different one. Yeah, so that might be a little different there. Berserk, click on that, then we go to Berserk. Okay. So That's really nice. I love the fact that we have kind of like a web page HTML linking. You can go and see what that is. If you want to know what around means, I'm going to suppose we can click on mechanics and terminology and see what the round means. Nice. That's really good. Yeah. So if anybody's unfamiliar with those things, you've got everything linked out to make it really easy to understand. If I click on round, yeah, very nice. Very cool. So while you can look into what's happening on my computer right here. It's probably just me. You probably got it all set up right. Just double check, I guess. But it's probably something that I'm doing not right here. Like I was clicking on the first one and it was probably taking me to the exact same place that I was before. And I needed to really click on like the second or third item in that list, possibly. So here, that was the first page that we started with the abilities and ratings, which is really cool. And then we have another page, mechanics and terminology, and it starts off with the keywords, backfire, block, channel, definitions for those, and your own personal remarks. Again, this is just your speculation over here, but it really, I'm sure, is going to be helpful for a lot of us to get ideas. And the closer we get to an actual release, the better it's going to be. And then I'm positive that once we actually know what it is, you're going to come in here and make all the changes. So this is perfectly aligned to reality, right? I can't imagine you wouldn't do that. So we've got all the kind of stuff. Yeah, this could be really useful ongoing. Yeah, you'll be updating as more info comes out. Absolutely. Yep. And so we see stun, do not pass go, do not collect $200, go straight to jail. Nice. So yeah, that's going to be a good block. This may elude a stat requirement for skills, abilities, or actions, degree of difficulty. Yeah, I think we're getting more information as time goes by, right? Sanjo hair, oh man, lol, exactly. Yeah, I was wondering about that myself. I had a good lull. Target monsters with Sanjo hair cannot be push, pulled, dazed, or stuff. Oh, man. Let's see. Yeah, so this is really interesting. So we got mechanics and terminology, which can help, again, make sure that we know what we're doing. Just, again, solely my own opinions. Yeah, but you got to start somewhere, and I think you've got some good opinions to get started. And then finally, we have an example of the Berserker and a little bit more of the specifics for Berserker, again, with your own personal remarks and all that kind of stuff as well. Or, ooh, is this your personal remarks here? I don't know that for sure. So Wowie, are these your own personal remarks, or are these the remarks that were originally given to us from the devs? Because I do seem to remember, or maybe it's the description that was given to us from the devs, right? And then these remarks are probably your own personal remarks. We'll see here in the chat in just a minute. Very nice. So we've got all the types of things, whether you're following bear, wolf, or boar. And as you're moving up the charts right there, again, I think these are your own personal ratings right here from what you feel we can expect from that. Let's see, all my own remarks. I take whatever I hear. Discord AMAs, yep, put all together as well. Awesome, really cool. So again, the remarks column is the personal stuff. Description is what we got from the devs. Very cool. So we got passive for bearskin, wolf pelt, and boar hide for increased effectiveness of some things right here. Passive boost to endurance by flat percentage will be used when building a physical tank unit. Passive boost to agility by, again, a flat percentage will be useful when building a fast turn priority unit. And then, of course, if you've got your attack, passive boost, basic attack damage by a flat percentage. And I really think that a lot of people, one of the things that comes to mind is somebody like Inner Grove podcast seemed to have done really good content and online videos for theory crafting and all that kind of stuff. I feel like they're gonna love this. If they have not already done a video about this, Wowie, I would say to, you know, drop this link with one of them and just see, you know, hey, what do you think about this? Because they would be able to spend probably hours, if not a couple of streams or a series on what you've got going on here as well, right? And they'll get a lot more into the details about it. But yeah, that sounds, yeah, I like it. And then of course you've got all your ability names for the Berserker as well. Nice, sweet. And so Wowie, I'm going to assume that you are going to continue to build on this. I think we've already seen in chat. Oh, Sandwich Punch would also be good to get his thoughts, absolutely. Because I think Sandwich Punch goes into some good detail on quite a bit of stuff too. So I think you're going to continue to build on this as time goes on, and my guess is that you're going to have like a cheat sheet, if you want to call it that, where we DFK PvP players will be able to come in here and continue to get some good insight on things. I'm going to encourage that you still continue, even once you know for a fact what some of these things do, like Duelist, Clutch, Foresight, and whatever. Put the facts in, absolutely. But I'm going to encourage that you continue to keep your own personal ideas or thoughts in here as well. And of course, if your own personal thoughts change, then change the remarks and change the stuff to make sense. But one of the things that I think is going to give this even more value than just a cheat sheet that you could get off the internet or something like that is including your own personal thoughts as well. Whether or not it's how things have worked for you personally, like even though the facts are X, Y, and Z right here, as far as percentages and whatevers, then you've noticed, or in your opinion, you've seen, you know, ABC, whatever it is that you continue to see. I think that's going to continue to be really interesting to see what your personal opinions are on top of what the facts of the actual game mechanics are. Yeah. Okay, let me scroll back up in chat. So again, let me drop this link in chat one more time for y'all if you weren't here a little earlier. Wowie has given us a great sheet to look at for super speculation and rating sheet for all kinds of, I think we're calling them traits these days, right? All right. Let's see. Hey guys, yeah, YouTube is weird with links. You'll post it. Thank you, TuneFed. Very good. Sumpasaurus, same thing has become a mess with multiple wallets and realms. Yeah, that is absolutely true. With the having to rewrite code for your leveling and questing stuff. Absolutely. I'm not even positive that the waifu bot is even updated with all of the new quest stuff on Serendale yet. Haven't really been paying attention to that too much in the last week, I guess. Zelis is right on top of the DFK helper stuff, though. Wow. Let's see. Yeah, nice work. Lowtech says, nice work, Wowie. Yeah, that is nice work, indeed. Bean says, rock, let's get it. Can't wait to check it out in depth after work tonight. Absolutely right, Bean. I would say check this out. See what's going on in here. Yeah, I don't want to get too sidetracked and start just reading all the details here. But definitely is something I'm going to be looking at after the stream. Beans has also got at least 3 dread attempts for tonight. Nice. Yeah, let's make sure that we're getting our summons in. Any of y'all that are doing summons, remember we've got that calendar, and I'll drop the link for the calendar in here into chat one more time too, and it's also in the Discord for Darlantis, but I'm hoping to keep a DeFi Kingdoms calendar set up that's going to remind us about some things. The Serendale summoning event's going to be ending on the 7th, at the end of the day on the 7th, so we want to make sure to get our summons in by then. Your merchandise Gen0 order deadline is coming up here on Saturday. The entry deadline is coming up on the 15th. So thank you, TuneFed, for adding those two merch things in. And we're also going to need to go through and start adding a few more things as well. We'll check the Discord and we'll see if they've added any other announcements and all that kind of stuff in here soon. Also, I might want to start putting in AMAs into here too. So DFK AMAs. So that is going to be, I guess we can add a time. Actually, let's say it does repeat. It's not all day. We want to add a time of 1 p.m. Central Time to 2. It's about right. And it does repeat weekly on Thursdays. And we're not, well, yeah, I guess I am going to consider myself busy at that time because I don't want to be doing anything else during the AMA. All right, so we'll say save on that. All right, so we can see when the AMAs are coming, we can see when the merchandise stuff is, the summoning events, and as we continue to have more and more DFK stuff happening, eventually I would like to get to a place where we've got other people's live streams listed, like when Grady or Ogre Abroad or Brown Gent or anybody is having a stream coming up. Of course, we can always check YouTube and hopefully there's going to be some notices, but maybe if someone is streaming on a regular basis, I think like Ogre, last I heard, Ogre was thinking about doing like 6 p.m. every Thursday or something like that. And so that could be a good thing to be putting in here too. And I'd really like to see a really full calendar for DeFi Kingdoms. And as more of y'all want access to being able to add this in, I don't just want to give everybody access right off the bat, but if you do want access to be able to add something into here, for now you can ask me or TuneFed or Low Tech, I think, has access. But if you want access to be able to write, then just send me a private message on Discord saying, hey, I'd like access to that. I do want to be a little careful just not to add every single person, especially people that I don't know very well, right? Because somebody could just pop up in chat here in YouTube and really they could be a hater with some new name and we don't know who it is. And then they could, you know, if you're modifying the calendar, they could be deleting things or messing it up. So we got to be a little careful with that. I feel like Second Wind is going to be awesome, would be so defeating to see as an opponent. Yeah, right? Like, so you're thinking that you're just about got that opponent killed and then boom, they get a second wind and you're like, oh no. Absolutely. So, and that could be a little demoralizing, I guess, as an opponent, what am I trying to think of? As the person who's coming out on top to see your losing opponent suddenly get a second wind. Yeah, it could be a little disheartening. Hit a dread already 2 days ago with an explosion and speed. Wow. Yeah, so now that we know what some of these traits are going to be, I think it's a little bit more interesting to see what we're getting with those. And I think more people, just like Mosh and Beeve and Starbuck have all been doing for a while now, I guess Grady too, is looking back at those underlying traits and kind of building heroes towards those now that we can actually see more accurate names on that. I think that's really interesting. Let's see, with the reminder, several people wanted Gen0. Yep, that's absolutely true. Zealous is pointing out, make sure that you get your stuff in for Gen0s because, man, there are going to be winners as Gen0s, and if you don't have your name in that or your wallet address, you just don't have a chance then, right? If you click any of the highlighted terms, yep, we talked about that. Your sheet is going to be encyclopedia for a lot of discussion. Wow, yeah, Zealous. I think a lot of people are going to be using that sheet quite a bit. And Zealous says, hey, Rock, hey, how are you doing, Zealous? So glad to have you in here, even if you're just stopping by for a little bit. Theory crafting is a passion of Zealous as well. And yeah, I know. So when I met Zealous in person at the Decentral, we talked a little bit about some of the theory crafting and stuff that he's thinking about. And I definitely got the impression that Zealous likes to do a lot of theory crafting as well. So if you get a chance, I would say very interesting to have a chat with several of these. In fact, what might be kind of cool is to get a couple of these theory crafting people onto a stream all together and just kind of shoot the breeze, right? About what ifs. I think that could be kind of fun. That's something that could be incorporated into AFK Hero Viewer. Absolutely right, Zealous. I think that would be a good place for it. Yeah, I don't necessarily want to see 500 different applications that do similar things. If we can incorporate some of that stuff into 1 or 2 applications that can more completely meet the needs of the people trying to check out the heroes, I think that would be better. So yeah, maybe Wowie, if you're not going to be doing some kind of coding like that yourself, just hooking up with the ADFK people, maybe they can add some stuff like that. And I think that would be really, really useful. Where's my car fox? Absolutely right, Self. Let's see, TuneFed, sorry, DFK Helper, just saw your message. Happy to throw it in the Discord. Rock, yep, post it there, absolutely. Let's see, TuneFed's given us a link for that. CEO Snap, okay, this is great feedback right here. It's not as streamlined as I'd hoped. Oh, nah, don't worry about that. This is really good. I really do like the sheet. I don't necessarily know how it could be more streamlined than it is right off the bat. You've got some really good, I mean, you've given the information here. You got your mechanics, all your terminology, and then some examples right there. This is really good. Yeah. If there were some things that you were saying that you could get an idea to do it even better, then by all means, go ahead. But I think this is fantastic. Let's see. The links are listed in the order of the keywords. That was good to know. And I think it also just, with me clicking on this, I wasn't really sure what to do or where to go from there. But like the first one I clicked, it didn't seem to do anything the first time. But again, that could have been my computer, because now when I'm clicking on these things, it does seem to be going right to what we're talking about. So I think it's fine. Sorry, I got a call as soon as you asked me about my bot earlier. I wrote it in Node.js. Okay, yeah, Node.js is something that I've been looking at a little bit as well, JavaScript. So I think that's a good language for that. I think if I was doing a bot myself, I might be doing Python, maybe, but JavaScript definitely has some good uses for that too. I'll be updating this more as the info comes out, absolutely. 30 minutes to the new epoch. Ooh, yes, nice. So I think it's 10 minutes now until the new epoch. So that's going to be really cool to see that go. In fact, let's hop over here right now, go into the harvest, and check that out. Thanks so much, Sir Mir, for pointing that out for us. So something that we want to look at, about 9 minutes until 4 p.m. Central Time, which is when our epoch is going to switch, whatever time zone you're in. And what I'm waiting for is I'm waiting for that 91% to drop down to 89%. And I want y'all to notice, I think most of you know already, but we're going to see this number jump quite a bit, right? And the thing is that I think a lot of people don't think about, even though we're going down 2%, right? So I think it started at 95%. It could have started at 97%, but possibly, and of course, it's easy enough to look, right? I could just come over here. It started at 95%, right? So, and it's going down 2% each time, right? So 95 to 93 to 91 to 9 to 89 and so on. And you're thinking, oh, it's the same level to go down from 93 to 91. It's only 2% as it is to go from 61 to 59%, right? That's still same 2%. But the thing is, the amount that it changes here, even though it is 2%, you're still getting a actually quite a bit more return for this 2% up here than you are for the 2% that you're getting down here. And I've shown that on the spreadsheet before, and I can show it again later if y'all want to see that. So these first few percentages that's going down really do make a big difference in that, right? So here we've got 8 minutes, 26 Jade, and one thing that we also want to be paying attention to right now as well is this is where part of this problem comes into play. Let's zoom in to 5 minutes on this, and we can kind of zoom out a little bit here and see we're dropping down. In fact, 5 minutes is probably too short of a time. Let's do 15 minutes. So we can see here that over the last couple of days, from the 22nd right here to the 23rd, to the 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, right? It's really starting to drop down right now. We knew that it was going to drop down sometime right around this epoch. Like we talked about this yesterday. We've been talking about it for a while now. We knew that it was going to drop, and I think it's going to drop every single week. 22nd, 29th, January the 5th, kind of along those same lines. As we mentioned the other day, what's happening is that some of these people are seeing that the amount of Jade per minute is going to get reduced. And when that Jade per minute gets reduced, the APRs are going to go down. And so with that, they know that there's going to be less Jade getting pumped into the economy. People, because of that, people are probably going to be leaving the gardens. And when they leave the gardens, they're going to be selling their Jade, as some of y'all expressed earlier as well. You're selling your Jade. And when you have a lot of sell pressure on Jade because people are getting out of those gardens, then we know the price is going to go down. And if we know that that's going to happen during these epoch times, then I think, as Aphex was saying the other day, we're going to have some people front running and getting out of there a little early. And that's what we're seeing right now. I think a lot more is people are trying to bail on this before the actual price goes down, right? There's nothing wrong with that. I personally am staying in a little bit. I'm not leaving the Jade Gardens. I've got a decent amount in those Jade Gardens, and I'm staying, right? Some of y'all said that y'all are staying as well, and there's a good reason for that. So I've got $720 into this account, into the Jade Ethereum. I do have a couple of Jewel things, but the Jewel things, they didn't have as high percentages, so I didn't end up pumping into those quite as much, just because the APRs weren't as big. And that's a huge deal to me, because as we were showing on the spreadsheet earlier, an 1800% APR, even for a couple of weeks, is a massive percentage of gains. If you start off with $20, in 2 weeks, you've got 13. You've almost doubled your money in 2 weeks with an 1800% APR. And as I was saying yesterday, and maybe I'll remind Zelf of this again, even though I know Zelf remembers from yesterday, but you know, we might feel uncomfortable that Jade is going down, but remember, you're getting more return from that APR then the value of Jade is actually going down. So to stay in those gardens technically is ultimately going to be better in the long term, right? Even with a loss of 50% value, we were even talking about that the other day. Even if Jade goes down from 24 cents down to 12 cents, even with the loss of 50% value, you're still going to have a fairly good return, right? just by staying in those gardens with that 1800% APR. Now, of course, we also mentioned that the 1800% APR is going to be dropping to a lower percentage APR, and that's something that we want to look at too. So let's take a quick peek. I'm here into the Jade ETH pool, and right now the APR is at 1956. It'll be curious to see. Let me in fact write this down. Let me write down some of these things here. So Jade ETH is currently 1956%, and we've only got 3 minutes to write this stuff down. Jade Jewel is 1148%. I'm in one more, I guess. All right, let's just take Jade USDT, which I'm not in, at 15%, right? So we want to see how much these APRs go down when that number drops from 600 Jade per minute down to 480 Jade per minute. Is going to get pumped out. We're going to see those APRs go down quite a bit. All right. I'm also curious to see how many people dump right after that. So I know that we're seeing a lot of dumping going on earlier today and yesterday, a couple of days ago, and then today especially. But one thing that I'm doing, like I said, I am waiting to harvest until the epoch actually rolls around, which maybe we should sit in here now and just wait, because we've got about 2 minutes to go. And so we've got 26.9. We're going to have like 27 here in just a moment. And we'll see how that goes. But we're going to see that this number is going to jump up quite a bit more. Even though it's 2%, 2% of this number right here is going to be somewhat substantial. All right, let's go ahead and try to catch up a little bit more with chat. AMAs might be going to be a bi-weekly or once a month in the future. Yeah, right. And so that's one of the things that we want to adjust in the calendar as we continue on. You doubt it's going to be weekly? Yeah, we already know for a fact that AMAs are not going to continue to be a weekly thing, right? Let's see, I'm off work today, so once I get done with splitting wood and my other chores, I plan on nerding out with some DFK stuff. Absolutely want to add some stuff to the calendar, pump out a video about all this stuff. Absolutely, Low Tech. Low Tech's got some good videos, stuff going on too. I don't want to switch over right now since we've just got a few moments until this thing switches. But check out Low Tech on YouTube, and I will post a link, or check out the YouTube channel in a little bit. But Low Tech's got some good videos out on YouTube as well, if y'all have not been paying attention to that. All right, so here we come, 26.93. We've just got moments to go. So many seconds, 36 seconds, 26.93. We're about to get that epoch change over. 20 seconds to go, apparently. We might be a little bit off. I don't know how accurate, because this isn't flipping over every second, right? There might be a little bit of delay somewhere. There's 26.93. Still 91. 26.94. 272. There we go. So now look at this. It went from 26 to 32 just because I waited a little bit right there, and only when I had 277 and only $700 in the pool. So just by waiting a little bit, imagine if you had 7,000 or even more. So now I can go ahead and claim that, and I got quite a bit of extra Jade. What we want to be doing with that right away, since we know Jade is dropping, now is the time we want to get in there and we want to sell that out, right? Because we know Jade is going to continue to come down. Marketplace, Central, Trader, Jade max -2, going to Jewel and swap, confirm. All right, so we want to get that Jade out of there on a daily basis. So from this point, I would go ahead and continue to be selling Jade out probably on a daily basis. Just make that part of your daily thing, because you do not want to continue to be hit downward, downward, downward. You want to get the most for your buck as you can. And I do personally think that Jade is going to continue to drop below this, but we got a certain dollar amount locked in at the higher amount that it is right now. If you would have sold on the 16th, if you would have sold on the 17th, if you would have sold on the 18th, the 19th, and 20th, as you were getting your daily amounts out, even if you were to sell on the 22nd and 23rd and 24th, even though it was dropping, you're still getting 24 cents, 23 cents, 22 cents, which you couldn't even get now. So you don't really want to wait too long for that, right? Would it have been better for me to have pulled out yesterday on the 28th at 16 cents rather than waiting until it dropped down to 14 cents to save the, or to, instead of pulling out 26 Jade, I pulled out 32. That type of thing, I don't know if it's too big of a deal to be messing with those small amounts, especially with my account here. I don't have a ton of money in this. So it's just it's smaller amounts. Probably not that big of a deal. But if you've got several thousand or tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands, which some people might have that much, then it's going to be a lot bigger deal. Let's see. Yes, I can put those in with different colors, etc. Yeah, absolutely. We can do different colors on the calendars. Do you think there will be an overall skill in the skill tree? Do you think there would be an overkill skill in the skill tree? Oh, I see. Zelf, are you talking about like a skill called overkill, or do you mean something that's overpowered? So if you were talking about an overpowered skill in the skill tree, I think that at the beginning of the PvP release, I think there could be some skills that are overpowered and they shouldn't be there. And then those things are going to be nerfed over as we discover them, and it's going to be over time. So I definitely, if you find a trait that is overpowered or way stronger than all the rest of them, I definitely would not jump into the tavern and buy up all of those heroes thinking, oh, these heroes are super cheap right now, I want this badass hero, I'm going to go and buy all these heroes like this, because that trait that's overpowered is going to get nerfed, right? If that's what you're talking about. If you're talking about an overkill skill just called overkill, I don't know about that specifically. Fishy Foods, yo, got to get a chance for Gen 0. Yes, got to get me a chance for Gen 0, absolutely. Turn the trait theory sheet into a blockchain to make it more streamlined. No. Oh my goodness, right? Subsaurus, I admit it's weird for a bot, but I spent a lot of time with JavaScript and Web3. Yeah, so that's something else too. If any of us have programming skill in a specific programming language, then absolutely go with what you know, right? You're going to be a lot faster with that kind of thing. And Born to Die, speaking of programmers, Born to Die here in the chat, thanks so much for everything that you do for the community. Let's see, J-Dub, I haven't seen you in a little while, so glad to see you here. I left the pools this morning. Yep. Probably going to get back into the pools, into non-Jade pools. So, man, I don't necessarily, of course, get into whatever you want. But here's the deal. Here's what we also want to be looking at now that I've converted that over there. Let's get back into the gardens and let's see what's going on in the seed box now with those percentages, right? We just saw a few minutes ago, 1956%, 1148%, 2015%. those were some pretty high percentages. So now that we dropped from 91% down to 89%, how much did that really affect the APRs, right? How much did that really affect the APRs right at that time? Let's see. Do I need to refresh this page here? Seed box. There we go. So here, Jade and Ethereum has gone down to 1561%. Jade Jewel is down to 912%. And we also checked Jade and USDT. Jade and USDT right here, 1612, right? Umar L, hey, how you doing, man? So here is, Sir Mir says, ouch, Jade USDT took a 400%, I wouldn't say 400%. I mean, maybe 400% came off of there, but sometimes when people say 400%, it means it's gone down by 4 times. And so, yeah, be careful using that percentage. But here's what I want y'all to keep in mind, right? So what we took a look at right there was we had about 2,000% APR, and that was getting us $15, 75%. So if we had $20 to start off with, we would make a 75% gain in just 2 weeks with that 2,000% APR, right? Now that it's dropped down to 1561%, then now in 2 weeks, you're going to have a 50% gain in just 2 weeks. You're gonna have your money back 50% gains in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks. So guys, even if Jade drops by quite a bit, right? Even if Jade, oops, where are we? Even here. Even if Jade continues to drop from, let's say Jade started at 16 cents a little while ago, and now let's say it drops all the way down to 12 cents, right? Let's check out some things here. If you've got a 16-cent Jade to start off with, Jade USD value, 16 cents. And you've got 1,000, let's say you got 10,000 Jade. So the amount that you've got. And let's say here it drops all the way down to 12 cents, right? Here's the start, and here's the end. Let's just check out some of this stuff. And so here you've got equals this number times this number. Oops. And that is a dollar amount. And here you've got this number times this number, right? All right, and then that's a dollar amount. So if Jade drops from 16 cents to 12 cents, you're saying, oh my goodness, I'm losing or I'm missing out on $400 right now, right? So you're down, you say, oh man, I just lost $400. It dropped from 16 cents down to 12 cents. I lost $400. If your APR is giving you half of the amount in 2 weeks' time, right? Half of the amount in 2 weeks' time. Or even let's do this. If we say 1 week of time, let's say it's 7 days. because that's when the next drop is, right? The next epoch comes in 1 week. So here's about $6, right? And we see that that is a little bit more than 25%, it's close to what, 30%? So let's take let's take 3,000 equals 3,000 times this. So that's what you've made, or I guess actually more technically it's this, right? Because you made 480. You made $360. So even though it looks like you've lost $400, in that week that you had it, you've gained an additional just about 3,000 jade, which, as long as you're selling that off as through the week, day after day after day, is hopefully going to be more. Even if you waited until the end of the week when it drops all the way down to 12 cents, you've still gained, because of the 3,000 additional jade that you have, because you're getting 1,500% APR, right? Then you're gaining an additional 3,000 jade, and that 3,000 jade at 12 cents at the end of the week is still worth $360. So you lost $400 just because of the devaluation, but you've gained at 360. So technically you've only lost $40 in value over the current price right now. So it's not nearly as bad as it seems, dropping from 12 or 16 to 12 cents. Losing $40 is not nearly as bad, right, as losing $400. And the thing is that in the meantime, we have gained a lot more jade and probably jewel, because as you saw, what we're doing is we are gaining 1,500% APR, and in a week we should have, again, a certain dollar amount. But if we're converting that jade to jewel, that jewel means, or tell you what, if we do about $360, and what is jewel running right now? Let's invert this. Looks like jewel's running probably about 19, let's say 20 cents. It's closer to 20 cents. So if we come back over here and we take equals $360 divided by 20 cents. So we got an additional 1,800 jewel. We got an additional 1,800 new jewel tokens from that. And actually, technically, it would be a little bit more, because you're not waiting until the end of the week, which is kind of what we're talking about here. You're not waiting until the end of the week to sell that off. Every day you should be pulling out from the gardens and selling, and pulling out from the gardens and selling. So at that higher rate, as it's moving from 16 cents down to 12 cents, you're continuing to pull out and sell and pull out and sell. And so you will be selling some at 16 cents, 15, 14, 13, all the way down to 12 by the end of the week, let's say, right? And so you've got 1,800 new jewel, and just imagine as that jewel continues to go up. In the meantime, what are you doing with your value if you're pulling out of the liquidity pools? You know, if you stick it on the sidelines into USD value, for example, or some kind of stable coin, that's not increasing your value. I mean, it's certainly stopping you from bleeding out more, but it's not increasing your value, unlike Jewel would right there, right? So there's a couple of things to think about, and one of the things that I'm thinking about myself is even with these super high APRs, 1500% APR is still really good, right? On a per weekly basis, right? Where else are you going to be able to double your money or get, maybe more accurately, let's just take a week at a time, because we know we're not going to even stay at 1500% for another month, right? So let's just say a week. Where are you going to be able to have a 30% increase in your value in 1 week? It's not from Hero. You're not going to be able to increase the value of a Hero by 30% in a week, I don't think. All right? You're not going to do it from the jeweler. I don't think you're going to do it in some place out in the physical world. You're not going to put it into a bank CD or a government bond or something like that, right? For a week and gain 30%. All right. Ferp, what's up? Eric's here. How are you doing? Good to see you, Rock. Crunching those numbers. Absolutely right. Let's see. There were some rather big jewel sales for USD earlier today. They wicked the price down to 18 cents. Face red, droopy eyes. Yeah, man. Yeah, Jewel has had some interesting things happen with it. Now that we're looking at Jewel over here, here we can see very interesting drop right there in Jewel. I don't think we need to worry about Jewel too much, right? There could be some temporary stuff going on with it. This big line right here, this line that we've got drawn from yesterday. Let's see if I can get a good view of it. This line right here that we drew from yesterday, this was seeing if Jewel, or the likelihood of Jewel doubling from 20 cents to 40 cents, or from, 20 cents to 40 cents in a week or 2 weeks. And I was saying that I do not see Jewel doubling in 2 weeks, but we were saying that in a couple weeks, we could possibly see the jewelers do pretty well, right? So I think we're going to continue to see those jewelers. One thing that we might want to, dropping from 2,000% to 1,500% is a big dip. That is a little bit bigger than I had expected for sure. But we're going to see how many people pull out. So the next thing that we need to look at here, some people are going to see that these APRs have dropped and they're going to be pulling out to moving to other things. Some of these other pools are 1,600%. That still would be better. You're already into Jade. So maybe one of the things that I might do is I might, man, it's not a big difference. I don't think it's enough difference for me to go through the trouble to break the seed apart and to sell the ETH for whatever this other thing is, USDT or BTC. I don't think I'm going to break that seed apart for that small difference. But still, where are you going to beat 1,500% APR? And I don't think the likelihood of Jade dropping that far for very long is likely. Now, certainly we could see some big spike downs as people freak out and they maybe overly FOMO out of Jade, right? You're going to see, like, look at this massive sell-off right here of a whole bunch of people selling right here at that time when the this is exactly 4 p.m. This is happening. This is right when the epoch. In fact, I think a lot of people were doing, let's zoom in even more to see the exact minute that that's happening. So look at this. here was the epoch right here, 1601, right here. So within a matter of 3 minutes, 6 minutes, 7, 8, 9 minutes, there was a lot of people selling off, pretty much exactly what I did. They waited for the epoch to switch over. They grabbed their funds, they did their claim, and then they sold out. And I think that was a good move for a lot of people. But it does mean that we had this massive sell-off right here. And of course, that's pushed the market down further. I think we're going to still see a lot of people selling off, going to freak out, but I don't necessarily feel that that's going to permanently keep down the Jade market too far for too long. However, when we're considering things, let's also go back to Crystal, because we got to keep in mind that Crystal and Jade should be kind of in parallel. And so with Crystal only being 8 cents right now, man, that does not look good for Jade either, because that means that Jade and Crystal are going to have to, Jade's going to go up, Crystal is going to have to go up, Jade is going to have to come down and meet somewhere possibly in the middle. It doesn't have to be in the middle, of course, by any means. Crystal could come all the way up to meet Jade. It's possible that Jade could go all the way down to meet Crystal, and anywhere in between. But with Jade currently being 16 cents and Crystal being 8 cents, that's an 8 cent difference. That means if they were to meet in the middle, Crystal would come down, Jade would come down from 16 cents, let's say down 4 more cents to 12 cents, which is right where we're speculating at in the spreadsheet. I think I said yesterday that it's possible that we could even see Jade drop down to 10 cents and possibly even down to 8 cents. Definitely, I think it could spike down lower than that. While we're in the bear market, and we just have bear market stuff to deal with anyway, then I think that we could also see lower lows and all that kind of stuff. Let's take out what Bitcoin is doing, just as kind of a gauge on some stuff as well. Because a lot of times, all of our little baby cryptos and altcoins are going to follow what Bitcoin does and the greater macroeconomic market too. So if Bitcoin is down today, which it is a little bit, then that would seem to put downward pressure, even additional downward pressure on Crystal and Jade and Jewel and all of our DFK tokens as well, right? So just because Jade and Crystal and Jewel might be down today also, I don't think it has anything, let me rephrase that. The fact that some of our tokens might be down a little bit more than we would like isn't necessarily just because of the things happening in DFK. We always have to look at Bitcoin and the general cryptocurrency trends at large, because if our tokens, if our DFK tokens are going down when Bitcoin is shooting up, that's one thing, right? That's a totally different story than if Bitcoin is really coming down and all of the other tokens, including our DFK tokens, are down as well, right? That doesn't mean nearly as much. So let's just keep that in mind as well. Let's see, low-tech, Zelf says, low-tech, do you have a high-tech way to split wood, motorized wood splitters, all that kind of stuff? Okay, yeah, just talking amongst yourselves. J-Dub says, Jewel Pool is giving great APRs, that's where I'm headed. Yeah, so Jewel could be giving good APRs. However, if we take a look at Jewel, one of the reasons that I'm staying in Jade pools, even though Jade is taking a bit of a dip right here, that the Jewel pools are so much less, right? So Jade and Jewel, well, here, let's take a look. Jade and Ethereum is 1,500%. Jade and Jewel, which is, I think, one of the highest Jewel pools, is 900%. That's 600%, actually 650% less than the Jade pool. Jewel USDT, 500% APRs. That's a third. 506% APR with Jewel USDT is a third of the 1500%. So yeah, I mean, 500% is still a good APR, but my goodness, making 3 times your money is really, I think, better. As long as you can live with the fact that Jade is going down, even on a temporary basis. It's my personal feeling. But when you look at the spreadsheet, and you see that your value has gone down $400 with an original 10,000 Jade amount. To say 4,000, I meant $400. That is a significant amount down. It's not insignificant. But looking at these other Jewel pools, Jewel Ethereum is only 481%. So if we were still in Ethereum and we just went with Jewel instead of Jade, again, it's less than a third. I would rather be building my money 3 times as fast, even if I was losing some percentage. Something else that we need to think about is Jade is going down a bit right now, but how much lower is it actually going to go, right? So we're already down to 14 cents. I'm pretty confident that it's going to go down to 12, and somewhat confident it's going to go down to 10. And so being out of Jade right now could make sense. Just, hey, let's wait till it comes down to 10 cents. And then we can get back in, right? If you're too worried about losing those cents then. And one thing to also consider is 2 cents from, or 4 cents from 16 to 12 is only 4 cents. But the biggest thing to be looking at when you're considering that is the percentage that it's dropping, right? So 4 cent difference is a 25% drop. That's a fairly significant drop from 16 cents down to 12 cents. You can look at it as, well, it's only 4 cents, but it is a 25% drop, which is really a massive hit to take, right? And so being out of Jade at that time is not something that I would say is a bad thing, to just get out of Jade while it takes that 25% drop and then get back in. But for me personally, I'm sticking through it because of that 15,000% APR. I mean, sorry, 1,500% APR is still ultimately getting me a 30% gain in a week, right? Which is not what. So let's take that same thing. So if you were to pull out of the Jade pool, which $20 is getting us $6 in a week. If we were to pull out of that and go into a 481 APR pool, then instead of $6, you're getting $1.80 in a week. That's significantly less. Rather than $6, you're getting $1.80, right? Here, 15.56. Getting just about $6, as opposed to $1.80. Yikes. And of course, if you bump this up from $20 to $2,000, then you're talking this the difference for a week being almost $600 of gains, as opposed to, instead of $600, you're getting $184. That's US dollar value in 1 week. All right. So I don't think there's necessarily any wrong answer. Definitely do your research, guys. Don't take what I say as what you should be doing. Absolutely not. I'm just talking out loud as far as what I see and how I feel I want to manage my own risk and make the moves that I'm going to make. Let's see. Berserks have an execute ability that will auto kill targets at a certain HP. Oh wow, yeah, gotcha. That is pretty interesting. That's a pretty interesting ability. And the damage would carry over, like to the next opponent. Let's see. No more L's in the house. How you doing? He's catching up. I'm catching up too. Burp says, Rock, do you have any plans with the locked jade that you're earning? So I've got a little bit of locked jade, right? We're getting some locked jade here. Do I have plans? So I know that some people are selling their locked values. Is there a way to sell locked jade these days? I don't know if there is. Hey Zabu, how are you doing? In fact, let me not even say that. There probably is a way. I think with Fox Swap or something like that, you could probably sell your locked jade also. Just like you could sell your locked crystal before. For me, I don't think that I am going to sell it. For one, I don't have a lot right now. I mean, I've only got 8,000 jade, right? And when we looked at crystal yesterday, I only had about 2,500 locked crystal. So I don't really have that much. Remember, 5,000 locked balance in your locked balance is what you need for 18 miners. And for me, or I should say, if anyone has 18 miners, those miners aren't doing a very effective job if they're not going after your locked balance. So I don't mind being patient. I know that I'm going to get all of this 8,000 back at some point. I'm not even sure if now, like right this minute today, is a good time to be getting access to that jade. You know, jade's only 14 cents right now, right? I'd be like, you know, I'm going to wait till jade pumps up more, and then I would sell it, perhaps, if I was going to be looking at that. I think some people are selling their locked balance for like a small fraction of what it's worth right now, even. And like I said, I'm a little bit more patient, so I'm just going to hold on to it. I know that in the face of crystal, a lot of people made out with some good money because back in the day, crystal was a really much higher value token. Let's come back and take a look at crystal, for example. DeFi Kingdoms crystal. And then we'll just say all. So those people that sold their locked crystal way back here at the beginning when it was $10 or $8 or $6 or $4, y'all made out like a bandit selling that locked crystal. Because now, and for a long time, we've had a very low value for crystal, right? And so that was definitely worth it. I don't necessarily think that we're going to see the same thing play out for jade. For one, jade never started off to be $10, $8, $6, $4 at all, right? It's possible that jade could drop lower and the chart could look something like this, just starting at, you know, 40 cents and dropping down to something low. But if it does that, I mean, then where are we talking? We're talking that jade would be fractions of a penny. Do you really think that that's going to be true? And part of the thing to consider is, you know, then what's the price of heroes going to be? Let's say that jade is worth 1 penny each, 1 penny per jade. We know that in the tavern, the heroes are probably always going to be, generally the floor price is going to be around 32, 33 power tokens, right? Whether it's crystal or jade or whatever other power tokens we've got in the other realms. And so that means that heroes could be down to 30 cents, right? If jade is down to a penny, it's possible, right? It's possible that our game power tokens could be a penny each, and then heroes would be 30 cents each. I think the game could function perfectly fine with that. I think a lot of people today would be really upset that they spent hundreds of dollars on Hero earlier this year, or even thousands of dollars on heroes earlier this year, if those same heroes are now worth 30 cents, or I shouldn't say those heroes, but floor heroes are worth 30 cents now, right? Again, if the power token had come down to 1 penny. But the game would still function just as well. People would be making less money. But I don't necessarily feel that the power tokens are going to come down to a penny each. And so when we're looking at the price of Jade and how much Jade is going to come down, I don't think that it's going to drop. I don't think necessarily getting out of Jade or it dropping would be as big a deal as Crystal, right? And so I'm not necessarily concerned about selling out of my locked Jade. I think the Jade that I have locked is still going to have a pretty decent value in the months to come. And even if not within 6 months, probably the Jade will have a good value when we're out of the bear market, right? I think that Jewel will do better. So honestly, as I take this Jade out from being locked into liquid Jade, I'm going to be converting it to Jewel, which is what y'all saw me do here earlier, right? Let's see here. Stomposaurus. I always look at DFK items and token items of Jewel. Click switch the price to W Jewel at the top. Right. That is something also that we can really do a lot. Is you probably want to be looking at some of these things in the price of not necessarily what the USD value is, but up here, switch to price in W Jewel, you want to be seeing what the price is as far as Jewel goes. So if we come out here, we can see that the price of Crystal, the value of Crystal, has actually been rising compared to the price of Jewel here over the last, what, day, 2 days? And that's the same thing with like tiers and so on, right? So if we look at tiers, DFK tiers, because I see FERP says just won 420 tiers. That's a funny number. It's fantastic. So if we look at DFK tiers, and we see, let's zoom out on those tiers, and we see that the price of tiers has been rising for a while. I think Brown Gent and Grady and Ogre Abroad had a stream talking about this specifically a few days ago. And we see that that price of tiers is going up. But when we look at that comparative to Jewel, we might potentially see a different picture. And we don't in this particular case. We still see that the price of tiers is going up when compared to Jewel as well. All right. So it had been 0.03 Jewel, 0.04, 0.05. Now it's closer to 0.078 Jewel for tiers. All right. But that is absolutely something interesting to look at. Let's say stamina potions, DFK stamina potions as an example. And if we're looking at in the price of USD value right now, then we see that looks like stamina potions are on the rise a little bit. Let's go back to an hour. And if we switch over to W Jewel, looks like it's the same in this particular case here too. But it wouldn't have to be always a similar looking chart. J-Dub says, we're using a 14-cent starting point. How about those that got in earlier? Oh, that's a good point, J-Dub. I feel like trying to, let's see, I feel like trying to protect my principal and still trying to get locked tokens is much safer. Right. So if you put in, I guess here's something that we can think about. Let's say that you have let's just say that you did something, let's say you put in 100,000 equals that. So let's say you put in 100,000 jade, amount of jade, right? So you start off with a massive amount of principal right there. And so that jade dropping from 16 cents to 12 cents, that is a 25% drop in value. And that $16,000 value that you have to start with drops to $12,000, right? That's a huge, you're saying, oh wow, now I lost $4,000 of value because I didn't pull out of those jade pools, right? And that is significant, right? That is a significant drop. But let's take a look at what's happening here as well. And that is that if you have 12,000 or, yeah, we'll just take this amount right here. Let's say equals this amount, the 12,000. We're going to multiply that by the APR that we're talking about. Divide that by 365 days. Well, let's do it one at a time just so we can verify a little bit. So $12,000 at 1,500% APR over a year would be $186,000 interest gained in a year, right? But we're not talking about a year. We're talking about dividing that by a day, 365 days. So you're getting $511 a day from that. This is gains per day. And then we have equals the gains per day times 7 days, or gains per week, 3,000. So here's what you're looking at. You say, oh man, I lost $4,000 right there. But how much did you gain because of the APR? You gained $3,500 in 1 week from those APRs still, right? So while the principal took a big hit and you didn't quite make up for it, excuse me, gotta pause that from my coughing or mute it. And even though you didn't quite make up for that at the 1,500% APR right now over the course of the week, again, this is assuming that you're leaving that entire, well, I guess you're, in this particular case, we're talking about principal, right? Although, not really, because the drop from 16 cents to 12 is still going to happen over the course of several days, we're saying. And so you should be pulling out some of that. So even though by the time it goes from 16 cents to 12 cents, then the gains from that would only be $3,500. If you actually were pulling some out at 15 cents and 14 cents and 13 and so on, then the gains would actually be a little bit higher than that, which might indeed push us over 4,000 to make up for that, right? So we do want to watch how this is dropping. Protecting your principal is something that we definitely want to do. But when I look at these numbers here, and again, it's because of these super high APRs. If the APRs were less and you're getting into something that's, like 481% APR, then you're talking about a much smaller amount of gain. Now look, if the APR goes down to 481, then you're only gaining 1,000 per week, which means that in that week you've lost $4,000 here because of the drop from 16 cents to 12, but you're only gaining 1,000, and that does not make sense to me. Of course, if this was the case with these lower APRs, yeah, I would get out of those pools right there, right? And JDeb says the smaller APR tokens, that has changed less as well. That is true. The smaller APRs are changing a little bit less, right? So when we look at what are the ones that we looked at specifically? So we specifically looked at the Jade ETH, and that went from 1956 to 1561, right? We also looked at Jade USDT, and that went from 2015, that went down to 1612. And then we had Jade Jewel, which still has Jade in it, I guess, there too. And that went from 1148 to 912, right? So here, when we see that this one right here has gone down about 400 of the percent of value, this one has only lost about 200 when you are talking about a percent, from 1100% to 900%, right? And so these values, the things going, it's dropping in less of a percentage, it's true, but I'm making so much less money as well that, to me, that's not necessarily something that I would want to do. And that's not to say that anybody's doing anything wrong, right? We all have differences in what we're looking at. And like I said, anyone who follows what I'm saying is probably getting wrecked, right? So I'm definitely not saying that I'm making great decisions. If the APRs were this low, 481, definitely it's a bad idea to stay in that pool and lose 25% of its value from 16,000 to 12,000. This is a bad idea, right? To stay in a pool or stay in a token and a pool, right? Stay in a pool because you're in a token that's making 481%. Not a good idea to stay in that pool and that token. But when you're making those higher APRs, then even though you're still down quite a bit from the principal, and you could have saved yourself, right? So you could have gotten out of the pool and you could have saved yourself if you know it's going down to a certain value. Of course, there's no guarantees that's going down, but we suspect. I mean, like I said, I think most of us are aware that Jade is probably coming down quite a bit, right? Look, we still see even more sell-offs right here. I think we're going to continue to see Jade sell off. So if you're going to stay in Jade pools, you've got to be aware of what's happening with Jade and what's going to continue to happen with Jade. Jade's at 14 cents right now, and like I said, I'm almost positive it's going to drop to 12 cents, right? And a drop from 14 cents to 12 cents, even though again it's only 2 cents a value, is still a pretty significant percentage, right? So getting out of Jade does make sense, right? But I'm happy staying in there with that super high percent of APR. And again, a lot of it has to do with what's happening with me personally as well, right? because of the smaller amount of USD value, I've only got $700 of value in there too. Different, and each of us is going to be in a different position where we need to make decisions for ourselves, which is part of what I want to get at there too. Now, if we know that Jade is going to drop, or I shouldn't say no, because I guess there's no way to know for sure, but if we're fairly confident that Jade is going to drop, even from 14 cents now to 12 cents, I mean, if you've got some money in there and you're pretty sure it's going to drop, why not take it out? Put it into something a little safer for a week or two. I think part of what I'm looking at here as well is with the garden schedules, the way that they are, right? And so we can see that there is a penalty where are we looking at that penalty? Blockings, schedules, is it in there in the gardens? Yeah. So we can see that after between 5 days and 2 weeks, it's 0.5%, right? And so I wouldn't want to be making too many moves in and out of liquidity pools each and every week. I would prefer to be waiting or thinking ahead 2 to 4 weeks at least, and preferably even a month, right? And so that's kind of what I've done. I've said, you know what, I also want to make a decision from what I'm doing and be happy with that. And I am kind of happy leaving the money that I have in there for a certain amount of time with those higher APRs, even though I know that those APRs are going to be coming down. They're going to be coming down across the board for everything. I am curious to see how that's going to change over time, the APRs specifically, because here's something that I'm going to suspect. I'm going to suspect that a lot of people are going to be seeing what's happening with Jade right now. Jade is dumping. And I think a lot of people are going to say, oh, that's terrible, I'm out. And they liquidate, or they get out of all of their Jade pools. They're like, oh, I can't handle this, I'm out. And so they start selling their Jade, which is going to put downward pressure on Jade, but only temporarily, I think. I think Jade's going to be fine in the long run. But what it's also going to do with people getting out of those pools is it's going to bring those APRs back up. As more people start selling out of these pools, these APRs might be dipping down right now because there's a lot more people still in these pools at the moment. But as more and more people start to sell off that Jade, I feel that for the next several days, we might start to see a little bit more of a bounce back in that APR as more of this money gets taken out of the pool. Then your money that you have in there will be a higher percentage of the pool value, right? And so your APR is going to go up because of that. I don't know how much it's going to go up. I don't know how many people are going to try to get out of the pools at this point because they see Jade dumping. But I'm curious and interested to see. So we've got these things written down. We'll see how it goes over the next couple of days. How you doing, Mystical Meows? Who else we got? Zaboo's here in the house. Sordo Fritz. Hey, how you doing? Let's see here. Catch up with everybody. Jeweled Clay is what I've been eyeing. Jeweled Clay. Yeah, Jeweled Clay is actually a pretty good pool to get into. Let's see what we're looking like there. Jeweled Clay. It's at 430%. I don't know what it was at before the epoch. Would have been nice to maybe make a snapshot of all of these pools. But certainly holding Jewel, I think, is a good thing to do. Jewel is going to have a lot better long-term value than Jade, for sure. No matter what else happens, no matter what happens, Jewel is going to have a lot better long-term value than Jade and Crystal. Clay token, man. So J-Deb, tell me why you're so bullish on Clay specifically. I feel like for me, I am curious to hear what you say, but I'll go ahead and answer it for myself right now as well. For me, the Clay token is the gas token on Serendale, right? And so for me to be bullish on Clay, I would have to be thinking that the Clay token is going to go up in value, right? That's what we're thinking. Oh, Clay's going to go up in value. And I'm thinking about this, thinking, why is Clay going to go up in value? Is it because they've got a lot of really great features that are coming into the blockchain itself for the Clayton blockchain? And I do know that they're pretty good. I mean, the DFK dev team picked the Clayton blockchain because they do have a lot of good projects and outlook, and they got a good team, all this kind of stuff. But is it really going to be that good? Let's take a look at Clay token. Over the last year. So it looks like just all the other cryptos, right? Had been up earlier this year, and just like all the other cryptos, it's dropped and dropped again and dropped again, and it's, you know, now we're in this down trend right here. So, and then November 9th, right around in here, is the FTX debacle that happened right here on November the 9th. And so what I'm thinking is, having DeFi Kingdoms come into the Clayton blockchain doesn't seem like it's really done a lot overall for the Clayton blockchain. We still see that we're in this longer downward trend. Probably from here, I could draw a fairly straight line. I mean, there are some ups and downs, right? But I could draw a fairly straight line from here down to here, and we're still in that downward trend. And I know that cryptocurrency in general is on a downward trend, perhaps, right? But let's take a quick look at Bitcoin, BTC, and go out for a year for BTC as well. And we can still see that same, even though it doesn't look quite the same as Clayton, we can still see it was higher at the beginning of the year, and then it's come down and come down. And even though we couldn't draw quite the same steady downward line, I think we could draw a fairly good downward trend line for Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin is doing a downward trend and other tokens doing a downward trend, I don't feel quite so bad about. But I don't see that Clayton, or the Clay token, has gotten a big bounce from DFK outside of what Bitcoin is doing myself. And I think that on Serendale, gas prices are fairly high, at least right now, and the questing is not incentivized enough for players to be getting in there and wanting to do, like, people aren't really taking their foragers and fishers over to Serendale because they can do foraging and fishing on Crystal Vale for less, for cheaper, right? Some people might have. And maybe later on the dev team will more strongly incentivize Clayton. But I think a lot of people are avoiding the Serendale, doing stuff on Serendale because of the higher gas fees. It's not a lot, but it does add up. And so I'm not sure if Serendale is going to be the great place to play. I think people are going to still focus on Crystal. Also, there have been a couple of people that have said some really interesting things about playing on Serendale versus Crystal Vale as far as what they want, like being jewel maxis is the word that I keep hearing. And so if we want a token to go up, right? If we as players want a token to go up, are we more confident that Jewel is going to go up or that Clay is going to go up? If Jewel is the gas token on Crystal Vale and Clay is the gas token on Serendale, they're both the gas tokens. Which one of those is going to be doing better in the long term? And so probably we're going to say Jewel. And I think what that means for people, I've even heard this from some people, is they would rather spend gas money on Crystal Vale and burn Jewel than spend that gas money on Serendale and burn or spend Clay token and not get those same reward boosts there, right? So when you start to consider all these other factors for that, I'm not overly bullish on Clay in general. I do understand that if we're going to be playing on Serendale, we need Clay token, right? So some people might be thinking, yeah, but if we're going to be playing on Serendale, you have to have Clay token. But I think there's a huge difference between, if I need Clay token in the game, I'm going to buy 10 Clay token, and then I'm going to spend 10 Clay token. I'm going to buy 10 and spend 10. I'm going to buy 10 and spend 10. I don't think I'm ever going to hold 10,000 Clay token. And I don't think that a lot of you out there are going to go out and hold 10 or 100 or a million Clay token. Whereas we probably will overall hold 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, a million Jewel, and that's going to lock up more Jewel. In fact, we even have a mechanism in the jewelers to be locking away that much already for longer periods of time in the jeweler. So not only are we burning Jewel permanently out of existence, but we also have mechanisms to lock it away in the jeweler in multiple realms. So we're locking away Jewel specifically in Crystal Vale, and we're locking away Jewel specifically in Serendale Jeweler. And when other realms come out, we're going to be locking Jewel specifically away even more there. And I seem to remember that the last number that I remember for locking stuff away in Crystal Vale Jeweler was it 25 or 28 million? I don't remember if that was dollars or Jewel. But I want to say $25 or $28 million or 25 or 28 million Jewel was locked away for a fairly long period of time. And so Jewel Clay, even though I think that all of these things are good to get into, I mean, 429% APR is still really good when you consider the reward. It wouldn't be my first choice because I'm not, in other words, I feel better about Ethereum and I feel better about Bitcoin or Avox than I do about Clay, personally. But now that I've said all that, let me read and let me find out what JDub thinks, because I'm very interested of what all of y'all think, because I'm just speculating myself, right? I don't know the answers to these things. So let's see what JDub has to say here. Maybe I can get inspired and have a new outlook on things. So many people want to stake their Jewel, so I feel it's a safer side. Yeah, absolutely. I think that Jewel is safer by far than Jade is. A Jewel also, just to hold Jewel, even if you're holding half of your pool in Jewel, is really good. So if we know that we're going to hold half of our pool in Jewel, what's the other half going to be, right? So we've got options like Clay, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Avox, and you've got to split your Jewel into something else, right? Jewel Ethereum, Jewel Clay, Jewel Bitcoin. You're going to have to split your half of your Jewel value into something else. So I think that that's a really good idea. Jewel for a long-term hold, and then something else, right? So let's see what JDub says. For gardens, I don't look for the tokens going up. I look more for the ones that don't move as much. Yeah, so that makes sense too, in that you don't necessarily want to have a lot of impermanent loss, right? So when your tokens are, when one token, I guess I should say, is outperforming the other one, you do get impermanent loss. You know, if they're both moving up, that's fine. And if they both move up exactly the same, there's no impermanent loss. If they're both moving down exactly the same, there's no impermanent loss either. That's an important thing that I want to make sure to say again for some of y'all. If you were to get into Jewel Clay pool and Jewel goes down at the same rate that Clay goes down, even though they're both going down, and even though your USD value for having those tokens is going down, I think we all are aware that that is not impermanent loss, right? Impermanent loss, the definition is when one of those tokens moves at a different rate than the other token, whether it's up or down or whatever. They could both be going down, but one of them is going down faster, or they're both going up and one of them is going up faster. Even if they're both going up and one of them goes up faster than the other one, you still will have impermanent loss, right? I want to make sure that we all understand how that works. And I've shown that on my stream several times, and we've had spreadsheets about it and all that other kind of stuff. It's when they diverge from each other is when you start having impermanent loss. So absolutely looking for stable coins. So JDub here says you don't look for the tokens going up very much. You look for the ones that don't move. So looking for those stable coins is something good to look for when you're concerned about impermanent loss. I'm personally not very concerned about impermanent loss. I think there's a really bad stigma for impermanent loss, and a lot of people say, oh no, impermanent loss, I gotta avoid that at all costs. And I don't feel that way. I am concerned about impermanent loss, and I would rather have no loss, right? I think we all would. But if for example, Jewel and Clay are both going up in value, or they're both going down in value, I'd rather not have some loss, but I'm okay accepting some amount, especially if we're making 429% APR. I think that way outweighs most impermanent loss effects, right? The high APRs that we have here. Now, if you were only getting 10% APR or 5% APR, then impermanent loss really does become more of an issue, because 5 or 10% APR might not be enough to outweigh the difference in impermanent loss. Then, and this is where, like, if you're familiar with stock market and you're playing in that type of realm more, then you might start to see, because in our normal space, in our physical world that we're used to, APRs are generally not 1,500% or even 500% APRs. And so we're used to smaller APRs, and impermanent loss does come into effect, or would have a higher impact, right? But I'm not going to say that looking for something more stable is bad. Anyone could want to look for more stable coins, and I think there's actually I think it's a good thing to do, is to look for stable coins as well. So I can absolutely understand that you would want to look for that. Like I said, my project, like I said, protect my principal and get whatever yield I can. That is true. So protecting principal is absolutely a really good way to look at things as well. Just like we've shown on the spreadsheet here, losing that $4,000 of principal, or I should say, not really losing $4,000, but losing $4,000 of value in the principal is a massive hit to take, right off the bat. That's not insignificant. Of course, if we're gaining almost $4,000 in a week, that is good, but it doesn't quite make up for the actual $4,000 that we have in unrealized loss at that moment, right? hopefully over the next week after that, and the next week after that, and the next week after that, our APRs are still high enough that we are getting really good returns, and ultimately we can make up for that loss. That's what I'm looking at. But having your eye on the principal is absolutely a really good way to look at things. But I'm also a dingus. No, no, JW. I think that's a really good thing to be looking at. Absolutely well. That's absolutely right. And I think that there are different ways to look at it, but definitely if you can avoid losing the principal or the value of the principal, I think that's one of the most important things to be looking at. Absolutely. So I don't think that that's a dingus move at all. It's getting harder and harder to resist the urge to buy Jade and get into these pools again. See, this is what I'm talking about. You know, Jade is taking a dump right now, but how much lower is it really going to go? Like, where's the bottom of Jade? And so as Jade starts to come down, it's only going to go down so much lower. And then we're going to see a bottom. I'm thinking that with Crystal being at 8 cents, that it's very likely that the bottom of Jade would be 8 cents also. I mean, the lowest Jade could go. And I don't really mean that either. It's also possible that cryptocurrency in general could take a big hit, and Bitcoin and every other cryptocurrency goes down another 20%, right? Including Jade. So Jade could go down to 10 cents or 8 cents, and then additional 20% after that, right? So just stay strong. I would say, if it was me, Surmir, if I was looking at this much more realistically, I can understand your sentiment here, and there is going to be a bottom, but I do not think that today, if it was me speaking for myself, I do not think today is a good time to get into Jade. I think it's going to come down another couple of cents. And just like J-Dub is saying, you want to protect your principal. And if you're pretty certain, like if you're not in yet, and that's another big difference. What I'm talking about is I'm already in these pools. And so for me to get out of these pools into something else, I've got to be thinking like, what else am I going to get into? And how expensive is it going to be to get in there? What are additional fees? What are additional other problems that we might have? The fact that the other pools are all going to be lowering or have massively lower APRs right now, and they'll continue to be going down as well. And so with all of that taken into consideration, and including things like the amount of money that I have in there at the moment, you know, that I'm not losing a huge amount of principal with $700, and I'm ultimately fine with all of these different factors coming in together. But if I had money on the sidelines, which I'll give y'all guys a little hint, I do, I managed to get another $4,000 of my fiat into cryptocurrency. And right now it's just sitting in USDC, right? It's just sitting in USDC right now. I only got it like 2 days ago, and I think I want to sit it on the sidelines for a little bit more. So now for me, in my actions, I'm not getting more into these pools right at this moment. I'm waiting on the sidelines for a little bit. And so if Surmir, you're saying it's getting harder and harder, I can definitely see that, because there does seem to be some really good opportunities. But for me, I'm going to wait. I do think Jade's going to come down a little bit more. And then those APRs are looking really juicy, 1,500% APRs. I can get a 20% or 30% return in 1 week. It's huge. And if I put $4,000 in, right? So if I put equals $4,000, oops, let's just do it up here. If I put $4,000 of USD value into a 1,500% APR, and let's say it even drops a little bit more. Let's say it drops down to 1,400% even before the end of this week for whatever reason, right? Then we're still talking in 1 week, I'm going to have 1,000 additional dollars because I'm in this 1,400% APR. However, if I put it into Jade, I mean, if I put it into Jewel, whatever, Jewel Clay, let's say, what was Jewel Clay sitting at? Jewel Clay at 431%, right? Instead of having $1,000 in a week, 431, I would only have $300. There's no way. There's no way I'm going to put my $4,000 into a 431% APR pool. I'm not going to do it. I'd rather put it into a 1,400% APR and have $1,000, a fourth of my money back in a week, right? I just can't do it. Now, again, keep in mind that right at this very moment, we're talking about new money coming in, and we're not talking about what J-Dub was talking about, protecting principal. That's two totally different things. So protecting principal, when you've already got some money in and you know something's going to go down, pulling it out right now and putting into something else definitely makes a lot more sense, right? But then what are you going to put it into? See, and that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at, if I pulled my money out, even the money I have in right now, if I pulled it out, what am I going to put it into? And then as I look at this and I see, well, what are my possibilities for putting new money into something? The new money is going into the jade pools. It's not going into the jewel pools. So anyway, it's sitting on the sidelines for a little bit more, and then it's probably going into the jade pools. Let's see. I can understand that. I would definitely love to load up on cheaper lock Jade. I wonder if Jade will dip further after event and Crystal rise maybe. I think so, probably, Zabu. I think that Jade's going to dip, Crystal's going to rise a little bit. My thinking is that Jade, or Jewel Jade, would be the best long-term pool if we're confident in the project, just like the best pool in CV would be Jewel Crystal. I think so too. So this is one of the reasons why I already got into, oops, let's come over here. So I already got into Jewel Jade. This was the very first pool that I started to get something into. I didn't put in a lot. I was just giving an example. I just put in 16 Jewel and 23 Jade because this was the pool I was intending to get into, and I was demonstrating getting into this Jewel Jade pool during one of my live streams. So I just threw a couple of Jewel and Jade together ahead of time. But then when I actually sat down and was looking at the value when I was getting into the pool, I was like, all right, I'm ready to put my money in. So what do I get into? And at that last minute, I just couldn't do Jewel Jade because the APRs, this was like as soon as the pools were opening, right? As soon as the pools were opening, I was looking at this and I was saying, I just can't, you know, with 30,000, this is when the pools were like 30, 40, 60,000% APR. I was like, I can't justify getting into these lower percentages, even though I love Jewel, even though I'm more confident of Jewel than anything else. And even though I knew that Jade was going to drop, I knew Jade was going to drop. But even with that, those massively high APRs, which we continue to see the effect of that, $1,000 in a week compared to $300 at a 431% APR. It's just, it's insane to me, the difference in that. So I ended up going with the Jade stuff, even though it was dropping, just because the amount that I've gained in that short amount of time is crazy. Vibes, hey, how you doing, Vibes? Let me catch up here and see what is going on. Jewel Crystal, oh yeah, so Jade and Jewel is what Zabu is talking about, and for me, it's a good pool to get into. Jade and Jewel still has 900% APR, which is almost twice as what some of these other pools have. Like, there are some pools down here, Jewel and Avox, Jewel BTC, it's like under 400%, right? But even up here, Jade and Jewel has 900% APR, and even though that's not 1,500% APR, it's still a pretty good pool. And the benefit is you get to hold Jewel rather than Ethereum, right? And then of course you're holding Jade because you're trying to get that high APR. It's like all the Jade pools seem to have the high APRs, which is unfortunate. I'd rather that not be the case, but it is. And so if you're going to hold Jade, are you going to hold Ethereum as the other half, or Jewel as the other half, or Bitcoin as the other half, or USDT as the other half? I think right now, if we expect cryptocurrency to dip down lower, Jewel USDT would be a good one to hold. If we expect that all crypto is going to go down, which I think is very likely, then having half of your value in USDT would be a good hedge against the more global crypto market going down, because then half of your pool is stable right there. But you need to be careful with that. And you need to be ready to get it out of this pool into something like Jade Jewel or Jade Ethereum or Jade BTC, because once we hit a bottom, then you do want to be in a crypto, like a double-sided crypto pool, where you can see the bull run through Ethereum and Bitcoin and Jewel and whatever else. You want to be in two sides of your non-stable coins when all of crypto is, the rising tide is raising all of these ships. You do not want to be in stable coin at that point, right? So I think Jade and Jewel is a good one. Even with the 99% APR, that is my preferred one and my long-term. So at some point down the road, when these APRs start to get down below, 1,000%, then I'm very likely going to be looking at getting, moving out of Jade Ethereum and into Jade Jewel. Because ultimately, longer term, I think Jewel is going to do better than Ethereum, as an example. Excuse me. So I think Ethereum's going to do good and Bitcoin's going to do good, and all of these tokens are going to rise when we have a bull market. But so is Jewel. And I think Jewel's going to do better than the average bull. I think Jewel's going to do better than the average token during a bull run, just because all the additional benefits that Jewel has in the game specifically. That's just my own thinking. Sadly, I think it will be mostly Jade dump and crystal grinding close to death. Some of the Jade money is flowing into Jewel. Yeah, so Sir Mir has a good point. I've said it before, it is possible that Crystal's being 8 cents right now. Crystal could go down to 7 and 6 cents, and Jade could meet it down there at 6 and 7 cents. I mean, that is possible. It's possible. I think that that's unlikely, and I think that that will reverse outside of a bear market. But I mean, yeah, it is possible. Yeah. I know most or all the Gen Zeros will move to Crystal Vale for summoning. I think so too, Zabu. I think that summoning and questing and leveling up and all that stuff is a lot more expensive on the Clayton blockchain. So, and this is another reason I'm not particularly excited about Clay token. I mean, maybe, or I shouldn't say maybe, the DFK dev team can definitely do something to change that, right? Even if Clay is a more expensive gas token on Serendale, the dev team could easily say that the drop rates for tiers are higher on Serendale. I give a 10% increase to the drop rate on Serendale for tiers or eggs or Swift Thistle or anything like that. And if there's a 10% higher drop rate on Serendale for some of those special items, that would definitely make up for a higher gas fee, right? It's just, if Hubert and Frisky and all the dev team, if they would, if it made sense to the tokenomics, and I don't know enough about what their plans are for the tokenomics to know if something like that would even make sense or not. It might not. But they could incentivize questing and all that kind of stuff more on Serendale. But as it stands right now, I think that a lot of people are ultimately going to move back over to Crystal Vale once the summoning event is over. Probably right. That's what I'm seeing. I mean, maybe are already there. I think actually, yeah, I never moved my foraging and fishing heroes over to Serendale. I never did. My foraging and fishing heroes are all on Crystal Vale still, and most of my heroes are still on Crystal Vale. I only moved some of them off to start hacking away at the gardens and the highly incentivized gardens, and also to get at some of this locked. So I've got like 6 miners over here and 6 gardeners over here on Serendale. Other than that, all my heroes are over on Serendale. JW says, also I want everyone to know I love DFK probably more than I should. Yeah, no way am I trying to induce any FUD when I say I'm getting out of Jade. Oh, no. I don't think anyone's thinking that there's any FUD going on with that. I think that's a wise financial move, JW. And I think a lot of us are looking at financial stuff for that. I don't think getting out of anything is any kind of FUD or should be any indicative of any FUD. And I don't think anyone viewed it that way. Yeah, I think we all need to get out of the things that we need to get out of, no matter how much we love the game. Yeah, I love the game a lot too, but like I'm getting out of Serendale. Like once the summoning event is over, I can't see any reason to stay in Serendale with the high gas prices and all that kind of stuff. Take that back. I might have some heroes stay in Serendale to do some certain things. And just because I'm not playing in Serendale doesn't mean that I don't love the game, right? It just means that it doesn't financially make sense to be doing things in Serendale with the gas prices as high as they are. And I think a lot of people probably feel the same. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. I don't think anybody's thinking that you're insinuating any FUD with that. I think it's a good financial move for you to get out of Jade, right? Makes sense. Well, let's see. Vibe says, it's not going lower. I just got back into the pool. Oh, man. So, Vibes, are you saying Jade isn't going lower? Because if you're getting back into the pools, then the APRs are going lower. That's for sure. The more people that get into those pools or get back into those pools, the APRs are going to go lower, right? So, speaking of lower, when I made a note earlier, we were at 1561 and now we're down to 1538. This is after the epoch change. It's dropped from 1561 to 1538. So there are a certain number of people getting back into the Jade ETH pools already, right? Yeah. So, yeah. And I would tend to agree with you, Vibes, at some point. Now, I personally think Jade's going lower. But if it doesn't, that'll make me happy too. I don't want to see Jade. I don't want to see any of our beloved DFK tokens going lower. I don't want to see that. But I just think that the market that we're in right now and the way that the game is currently being played with the summoning event being on Serendale and Crystal looking at like 8 cents. I think with all of these things combined, I think it's probably going lower. Let's see. Vibes is the hero we all want, but don't deserve. Absolutely right. Get back into that pool. Everybody jump in. No, of course. Don't follow what I say, guys. I have no idea what I'm talking about most of the time. Let's see. I was thinking we will see a small pump with the event, but it's a risky play. Sabu, you seeing a small pump with what? You think with Crystal? You think Crystal's going to pump a little bit with people moving, like once the summoning event is over? Or are you talking about Jade pumping? Vibe says, but let's be clear. Jade is likely to go down for a while. Yeah, that's what I agree with too. Yeah, I think Jade's probably going to go down. Sounds like someone needs a Gen0 with all that fiat. Salvasaurus says, no, man. So I would love another Gen0, but look at this, Stomposaurus. If I have $4,000, I can buy one Gen0 and then that's it, right? So I could buy a $4,000 Gen0 and then it's locked up into this Gen0. I can't do anything else. It's locked into this Gen0. But look at this. If I put that $4,000 instead into a 1,400% APR pool, and I make $1,000 in a week, 1,000 additional dollars in a week. Now, I don't expect, so don't think I'm being blind here. I do not expect the pool to remain at 1,400% APR over the next 4 weeks, right? I think we're going to go down more and more and more over the next 4 weeks. So I'm not thinking about that. But if it were to stay at $1,400, which I know it's not, but if it were, then in 4 weeks of $1,000 gain per week, I would have enough, again, additional interest gained to buy that same Gen0, plus I didn't touch my principal, and the principal $4,000, the original $4,000, is still in a high APR liquidity pool, continuing to bring in more income and more income and more income and more week after week after week. Even if it's not 1,400% APR anymore and it drops down to 1,200% APR, I'm still making $900 that week. And then if it drops down to 1,100, then I'm making $800 that next week after that. And then if it drops down to 1,000% APR, then I'm making $700 after that. How many weeks, even if it's dropping like this every week, how many weeks until I get that $4,000 back in interest, and then I can buy the Gen0? And in the meantime, I continue to have the principal, that original $4,000, as an engine, right? As an engine that continues to bring in more value week after week after week after week, right? So that's what the goal there for this is. Not to buy a Gen0 itself, but to bring the income to buy another Gen0, and then continue to bring income after income after income, right? So that's my plan and play on that. Let's see. Oops, it looks like I'm a little bit behind in chat. Let me catch up in chat real quick, guys. I did not intend to be this far behind. Looks like about 15 minutes. Seriously, Rock, I should buy a Gen0 if you, or I think you meant you should buy a Gen0. I have 4 Gen0s. And like I said, even if I didn't have any Gen0s right now, with these super high APRs, I really want that engine coming in. What I'd do if I had a couple grand lying around right now, yeah, a lot of people would buy a Gen0, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to buy a Gen0 with your 4,000, then go for it, absolutely, because then you have a Gen0 right away. Right? For me, I just think it's better to create an engine that continues to bring in passive income week after week after week after week for a long period of time, right? And then even when the APRs in Crystal and Serendale drop down, so eventually we expect that these APRs are going to drop down to 200% APR. That $4,000 is still going to be making $150 a week. Times 4 is how much income in a month. So that's pretty good, right? And I think we could maintain 200% APRs for a long time, right? I think we could maintain 200% APRs for months and months, and probably. And then once those months and months are over, I could take that $4,000 of principal that's still there, making a little bit in these lower APRs over the last couple of months. And then when the new realm comes out, whether it's on Polygon blockchain or Phantom or whatever other blockchain it's on, then I can put this massive amount of money into another 30,000% APR liquidity pool. And then in 1 week, that $4,000 is going to gain me $24,000 in 1 week in a new liquidity pool, in a new realm, because I didn't buy a Gen0, right? And I've got this set aside specifically to be utilized realm after realm after realm. Even if there's only 2 more realms coming, it's still going to be realm after realm of super high APRs, and getting those funds in to a super high APR again and again. Even if this only lasts a few days, right? 32,000% APR. Oh, rock. It's totally unrealistic. 32,000% is only going to last a day or half a day. Well, even if it only lasts a couple of hours, my daily gain is $3,000 in a day. So even if it only lasts half of a day, then that's still $1,500 in 12 hours. $1,500 in 12 hours from a $4,000 initial investment. Yeah, that's what I would rather do, right? Apex says, on 2x speed, like 20 minutes behind now. Hey, Apex, how are you doing? Great to see you here. Catching up, still behind. Lock Jade right now is 3-1 right now. Oh, wow. Interesting. Over the counter market for Lock Jade is 3-1. Interesting. Interesting. Well, come on in, Apex. How you doing? Great to see you here. Let's see. Zabu, exactly. It's funny how psychology works. With dips and token values, we were degenning with 18 cents plus crystal with no fear not too long ago. Yeah, absolutely right. I think we're gonna have dips and peaks and all kinds of stuff. Each of us is gonna have different ways to look at things. I think it's gonna be fun. Definitely do not listen to me. I mean, it's okay to hear words I say and to get ideas, but definitely talk to other people and form ideas from a lot of other people's inputs about things to do. Because for me, also, I listen to a bunch of other people as well, and I take little bits of everything everybody says, and then ultimately I come to my own decision based on a lot of input from other people. And I would say that's probably a good way to do it in general. Let's see, Vibe says, let me tell you about the jewel I bought a year ago at this time. Oh, man. You're going to tell me about the jewel you bought a year ago at this time. Yeah. However, I think that that's totally different, right? Or hold on a second. This is December. Yeah. So that jewel, how much was the jewel back in December? Oops, let's come over to here and look at jewel. Was that like 20-cent jewel or something? Was that super inexpensive, super cheap? All. Oh, look at this. So no, jewel back in December of last year was still $6. So I didn't get in, guys, in case y'all are curious. I got in to DeFi Kingdoms somewhere right around February, March. So it was about $7, $8, $6 somewhere. In fact, I think I remember it being $8, maybe even going up to $8. So maybe like right in the middle of February, February 11th, 12th, when it was like 7 in the 7s, and then it popped up to 8 for a little bit there. Maybe somewhere right around middle of February is when I first got into DeFi Kingdoms. But yeah, if you're talking about getting in December, then yeah, you're paying about the same amount that I did when I first got in. But then to have it shoot up from $7 to $22, woo, I bet that felt amazing and crazy. I don't know what I would have done at that point. I should have sold if I would have been in, right? Whenever anything spikes up like that, it's a good time to sell 25, 30, 50% of what you have. Don't sell everything necessarily, but in general, I feel when you have a really high spike up and it goes parabolic, then you should be prepared to sell 25, 30, 50% of your holdings, possibly even more, but at least that much. And then that way expect that it's not going to stay up that high and then it'll come back down. You got to be really careful with that, because sometimes it'll shoot up and it won't come back down either ever or for a long, long time. And so you don't want to be selling out before it really gets too high. You want to be careful. Let's see. Apex is catching up. Just a reminder, don't sleep in Clay. Will be a strong pair, similar to Crystal of Ox. You'll see Jade Clay perform similarly. Clay will probably continue to outperform Jade. It's interesting. You think that Clay is going to outperform Jade? That's very possible. I think one of the reasons that, and Vibes, I'd like your input on that too. I think one of the reasons, if we were going to go down that route, or if I was going to think about that, maybe one of the reasons that Clay would outperform Jade is because Jade is just a game token in a single game here, and we're expected to spend it. Jade doesn't really have any long-term holding value, and so we buy it and spend it and buy it and spend it and trade in, or we get some and we trade out of it. We get more and we trade out of it, right? And so we're not really holding it long term. It's very liquid, right? Whereas Clay token, being a gas token on a blockchain that hopefully the developers of that blockchain, Clayton, are going to continue to build up that project and make that project stronger. Of course, man, I think DFK is going to be a stronger project too. But it is DFK as an entire project, it's going to be stronger. I don't necessarily know if the realm Serendale is necessarily going to outperform a blockchain token necessarily. I don't know. That's rough. But so Vibes, I'm interested to hear what your reasoning is behind on that. Let's see. Sabu says, I'm very spooked with the whole crypto macro. Yes, I am too. My only focus is DFK right now. Yeah, be really careful about the global economic market, the macro market, when you're talking about crypto, because I do, one thing I would say, Zabu, I don't know, you say you're focused only on DFK right now. Are you really only focused on DFK, or do you also listen to other news? I'm talking about things like Coin Bureau as an example, right? I think if y'all listen to Coin Bureau on the YouTube channel, I'm sure everyone probably has a link to that. He's got lots of really good macroeconomic stuff and broader crypto news. He even talks about the housing market occasionally, which I think is going to have a problem coming up soon. And there are some other things that I think are going to be problematic. And so when I hear stuff like that, and Coin Bureau is not the only person I listen to. Like I said, I generally get maybe 3, 4, 5 different people's inputs for things. But Coin Bureau is one of the maybe easiest and more concise. Other people that I listen to are various streamers or long, what am I thinking of? Long play content that's harder to get a specific bit of information out. It's kind of like listening to my stream. You pick up little things listening to my stream, but I don't have a very concise video that says this is what we're talking about today, and you can get some good alpha in 5 or 10 minutes. You're picking up a little bit here, a little bit there, and a lot of it's speculation too, right? So I would say, Zabu, if you're not watching places like Coin Bureau, that could help give you a little bit broader focus as well. It's okay to just be looking at DFK, but when you're doing big financial decisions, I think we do want to be looking at a broader market. And so I would say that would be one of the easiest places you can get very concise information from. I'm doing one more injection of funds, and I'm moving to take profits in Jewel come the new year. That could be good too. Man, would I take profits in, you say the new year? Do you really mean like the beginning of January? I'm not sure about that myself. For me, I mean, you do whatever you want. For me, I think that I need my funds in a little bit longer than just in January. Maybe I could start taking profits as we start to look at the gardens and the jade as an example. You know, January the 5th and January the 12th, those could be good times to possibly, you know, when the APRs are going to be coming down again significantly for this, could be a good time to take a little profit. But I think what I would wait for myself is I would wait for bumps up in price, right? So if we take a look back at Jewel, let's come over here to this other chart and we invert that pair and we're looking at Jewel, and let's zoom out quite a bit and zoom in here. So if this is Jewel since July, right? So here's Jewel coming in since July. You can see that Jewel has some ups and some downs. I think right now where we are at 20 cents is a little on the low side. I think I would want to wait for a little bit of spike above 30 cents is what I would wait for. Now, if we get a spike above 30 cents in January, then I would say, yeah, that might be an okay time to take some profits. I think overall, and something else to think about when we are thinking about taking profits, I do personally think that crypto is probably going to take another low down over the next 6 months or so. I think we're going to see lower lows for Bitcoin. And of course, as the whole tide lowers, I think that all of our little altcoins and DFK coins are probably going to take a hit with all that as well. And they're probably going to come down again, maybe 20%, possibly. And so if in January we see a little bit of a spike up to 30 cents or so, then maybe it would be a good time to take some profits out there, right? But I think a lot of that has to depend on what we're seeing. If we're still seeing prices down here in the 15 to 20 cent range, I think I would wait a little bit to get to that bump, right? And that's probably what you would do too, Zabu. That's my guess. I got a ledger for Christmas. Oh, wow, G-Dub. That's awesome. Would you believe, guys, I still do not have a hardware wallet? I know, it's crazy. I should. It's not a good thing to not have a hardware wallet. I do not recommend not having a hardware wallet. I do recommend having a hardware wallet. So that's good to hear. I need to get one myself and just start playing around with it and all that kind of stuff. Finally moved all my good stuff to it. Nice. I'm glad to hear that. I really want y'all to be safe. And having a hardware wallet is just one additional layer. I can feel sleep knowing my Jewel is safe. Absolutely. You know, I think also there is a massive advantage to just feeling more comfortable, right? Reducing stress in your life, I think, is very important. It helps you live longer, helps you have a happier life in general, just to live a more stress-free life. And the little things that you can do, like making sure your crypto feels safe, is fantastic. Let's see, Vibes. I got 2 ledgers for girlfriend. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really good to have. This is the last round of funds I'm putting in from other crypto bags that I'm harvesting tax loss on. Ah, yeah, gotcha. We'll build other bags in the new year and other dips and crashes. Gotcha. Yeah, you know, I heard that someone was buying something, or selling something at a loss right now to help on their taxes. So I think that's a really good move to be able to do. And then, of course, you buy back a little bit later. Vibes asking Zabu to do the taxes. Yeah, man, this crypto stuff on taxes is crazy. Rock, sleeping on that Swift Thistle. I think some people have a lot more than I do. I don't know if I have a lot, but I know I haven't sold any. Far from it, I'm terrified to keep records. First year filing crypto taxes. Oh, man. So, guys, what my recommendation is for taxes, I've been letting a CPA do my taxes for a while now. And I would say, even if you don't want to be paying a professional to do your taxes on a long term, if you have not done taxes for cryptocurrency stuff before, this is going to be one of your first years to do it, I would strongly, strongly encourage that you spend a little bit more money and get a professional tax attorney who can and is familiar with crypto specifically, and then look and see and talk with them about, why are you doing this? How are you doing this? How can we get the best deductions? Just like I was saying before, there was someone that I saw that was selling crypto right now at a loss specifically for tax purposes. In other words, they didn't have to sell right now, but because they made so much gains earlier in last year, right, that they wanted to sell right now because of the tax advantages of selling some of this at a loss this year. And so you probably don't know all the tax laws, and something that I learned many years ago is these tax laws change every single year. There's some big changes and some are small changes and so on, but there's no way for most of us to keep up with all the tax laws and how they're changing on a regular basis. So just because you find something to be true one year doesn't mean that it's going to be true the next year and the year after that and the year after that, right? And that's one reason that I generally don't mind paying a professional to do that, because they know all the current ways to get the best bang for my buck and to, you know, make sure that I'm doing the right things. Hey, David, you might need to claim this, or you might want to do this because, you know, you want to claim a loss, or you want to show a loss in something. And say, oh, that's good to know. I might want to make some certain moves. And you might not know some of those ins and outs just doing it on your own. However, I do understand that a lot of people don't want to pay for that kind of service. Personally, every year that I have CPAs doing my taxes, they save me more money than I pay them. I get more back, or they've saved me from paying more than I'm spending on them. So it comes out to be better. Like, I'm going to lose money anyway. It's either I'm paying the tax or I'm paying the tax CPA. But I pay more. I would pay more tax if I just pay the tax, and I pay the CPA less. So even including what the taxes I do pay. So ultimately, that's better for me. Let's see here. Let's catch up in chat. Let's see. Just nervous wreck for everything new and involving Uncle Sam Nellis. Yeah. Guys, do not. You be very careful with your tax stuff and crypto stuff. I think people are getting hit kind of hard right now, and you definitely don't want to be making a mistake is one thing. And if you make a mistake, you know, you might have to pay a penalty or a little fine. But if you're trying to deliberately do something bad or hide money or something like that, that's something that you really got to be careful about. I think being nervous is okay, but just, you know, do the best you can. And lots of things like there are online tax services, like I think Intuit is a company, or H&R Block is a group of people that can help with taxes and stuff as well. And going to one of those things is, or doing it with an online service or a piece of software that steps you through that, like TurboTax or something, definitely is going to help a lot with that kind of thing, I think. And I know that there are lots of people in this space that, you know, want to shy away from taxes, but there's a, you know, don't get yourself wrecked with the government, because that wouldn't be good. Let's see, just think the people need Crystal to play and have Crystal to play. Everybody else is buying Jewel with excess funds, judging from community vibes. I would agree with that, Sir Mayor. I think that Crystal is something that people are going to play with. I think people are going to play with some Jade also, but I don't think Crystal and Jade are going to be long-term plays, and I don't think you're saying that either. But of course, Jewel is a long-term play. Yeah. Let's see. Vibe says, so funny. It's not that bad. You'll be fine. Yeah, small fish. Absolutely right. Yeah, I think you don't really need to worry about tech stuff too much. Just try to be honest. Do the honest thing. If you make a mistake, it's not going to be that big a deal. If you're trying to purposefully hide money, that's where that really looks bad, right? I'm just going to tell the IRS I owe $4.20. Nice. I also haven't realized much profits. Like the 420 strategy might have to go that route this year. Seems more efficient, right? Oh, man. Sergeant, just lurking. Hope you have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Yeah, Sergeant, I hope you've had a Merry Christmas as well, and that your New Year. Guys, New Year's is coming up. What are y'all doing for New Year's? I'm just about done with this stream. In fact, I've got 5 more minutes on the stream. I'm going to try to catch up with y'all here in a minute and get all caught up. But what are y'all doing for New Year's? It's coming up in just a couple of days. Let's see. I would also have to argue that Gen0s create semi-passive income from summoning. They can, absolutely. Yep, I would agree with that. Stomposaurus. Last I looked, it was more like 2,500. That is a good point as well. And so, if we're taking a look back at my spreadsheet, where I was looking at making 1,400% APR as an example, then if I put that $4,000 in to the 1,400% APR, then I could probably get a Gen0 every 2 weeks, right? If I'm getting $1,000 a week, well, again, as long as it stays at 1,400%, which we know it's not going to. But then even if it drops down a little bit below 1,400, even if it goes to 1,000% APR or something like that, oops, not there. Even if it goes to 1,000% APR, then we're talking about $760. So what, in 3 weeks, every 3 weeks, I'll be able to get another Gen0? And then 3 weeks after that, another one maybe? Or maybe 4 weeks, maybe because the APRs will drop down. Maybe the first one I can do in 3 weeks, and the second one I can do in 4 weeks, and the third one I can do in 5 or 6 weeks, right? But still, that would be 3 Gen0s for 4,000 instead of 1.5 or something. So who says, Rock, I meant focus investment-wise. I definitely keep up with the market. Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's why I'm spooked. Yes, watching Coin Bureau, definitely watching the housing market. Yeah, man, it's scary stuff. I think crypto and markets coming down. Absolutely right. Sorry, you could have explained. Better. Come the new year, I'm not putting more funds into profits I make in the game. Be swapped to Jewel. Oh, okay. Finally, now building long-term Jewel bag. Yeah, gotcha. Also looking to build a side bag of Jewel to sell in case of a centralized listing. Oh man, that's a good point, Zabu. If we're getting into a centralized exchange, which I personally, I know that Grady is all for it. Personally, I'm not excited about a centralized exchange listing because I think that's just going to pump up Jewel by people that don't care about it and aren't playing, and they will just as quickly dump it when it doesn't suit them. And I think that's going to give us a much more huge swing in price, up and down and up and down, as investors who don't care anything about the game are playing with the trends and possibly more manipulating the market from centralized exchanges. So I'm not a big fan of that. I do know that being in a centralized exchange will pump Jewel, but you got a really good point here, Zebu. That might be a really good time to have a bag set aside specifically to sell that pump, right? Yeah, good point. Perfect advice, and this is what I'm leaning to go into pro with my first year filing crypto taxes. Yep, absolutely. I definitely agree with going with the pro for your first year. Then learn what that pro is doing, and even if you don't want to pay year after year that pro, then learn what they've done and continue to apply some of those things into the future. Yeah, absolutely right. And keep in mind that specific tax laws can change year after year. So I would say use a piece of software like TurboTax online or something like that, where every year the software will have the updated, latest, greatest stuff and be able to hopefully get you good deals and tax breaks and all that kind of stuff as well. I'm just worried about the Gen0 win and other airdrops from crypto, thinking tax losses. Yeah, in general, I wouldn't be overly concerned about taxes in general, I guess. And the reason is because taxes are going to be a percentage of your gains overall, right? And so you should never have to be paying more in taxes than you're making. So you're always making more. And if you make more, then yeah, you pay more in taxes, but it's always going to be a percentage. So even if I'm paying $1 million in taxes, let's say I have to pay $1 million in taxes, I would be happy for that, because that means, how much does that mean I would have had to make? How many more millions that I have to make if I'm paying $1 million in taxes? It's like, damn, I have to pay $1 million in taxes. That must mean I made $40 million that year, right? So in a way, I'm not overly concerned about that, and I wouldn't be too concerned about it. In case of an audit, yeah, the pro handles it, you believe? Yeah, the pro will definitely handle the audit, and that is definitely worth the money right there. Darrow Evil, hey, how are you doing, Darrow Evil? Apex says, if I had 4,000 right now, I would probably do gardens the next epoch, then buy a floor hero army. Ooh, that's a good point too. So, you know, we're talking about Gen 0s, which I think are good, but buying 100 floor heroes is something that I really have on my radar. About 2 months ago, I bought 50 somewhat floor heroes, and I would say, oh, is that what you're saying too? Oh, 4,000 to about 800 heroes and 50 hero floor. Yeah, a lot of crystal can be made that way. Yeah, absolutely right. So 2 or 3 months ago, I bought about 50 heroes near the floor. They weren't at the floor specifically, but they were very, very close to the floor. And I was a little bit more, slightly more picky than just the floor. And I think I did decently well at picking out some good heroes. And those heroes have been generating more income for a while now. So again, and we've talked about this on my channel before. I see it's 6 o'clock, so I want to wrap up here right now. We'll be on again tomorrow. But we've talked about the fact that having 50 or 100 heroes in a wallet and then putting a bot on those can generally be an engine that can earn you passive income. So yeah, having a Gen 0 can be a little bit of passive income, but I think an army of like 50 to 100 heroes generally also could be another engine that could generate passive income, as well as that $4,000 principal going into a liquidity pool, generating $1,000 a week or so, definitely another engine. So having multiple engines, right, multiple sources of passive income, I think is really important of a thing to look at, right? So really good right there. Let's see. Still like 10 minutes behind, so you may read it. Right. I'm getting caught up here. 987A, hey, how you doing, 987A? Have not seen you in a while, just in time to say bye. Yep, I'm glad that you're here. Thanks for stopping in. Got a nice cigar waiting to help bring in the new year. That's sweet as well. I'm okay with spot jewel listing, just please no leverage. Ooh, yeah, that's probably the bigger deal. Definitely no leverage. I'm not even sure I'm okay with spot leverage, but definitely J-Dub, spot is much better than having leverage. So even though I wouldn't even like spot, I could go along with it and take it at spot as long as we don't have leverage. Yeah, I'm with you. Is not sure if central exchange listing, but damn right, I like to ride that wave in. Yeah. So, man, I tell you what, Cebu, rather than open up to a centralized exchange now in the bear market, tell you what, can we wait until the bull market? And like in the bull market, when we have super rising prices already, then let's compound that with a centralized exchange listing to compound that rise even meteorically higher. I would be all for that. I'm not too excited about a centralized listing now in the bear market, right? Zelf says, Ogre live with Grady. That's what we want to do, guys. It is 6 o'clock, and I do want to wrap up my stream right now. TuneFed has dropped a link into chat. Let's go ahead and I'm going to copy this right here. Oops, is that going to even work for me?
Upcoming
there we go
game that we will be getting from Wisdom Games, right? One of many different PvP options we currently have.
I will see y'all later.
Yes, we currently already have. So we've got
y'all have fun.
That I haven't given any.
I will tune in with y'all tomorrow.
We got Fight Club.
Until then,
that doesn't actually involve these abilities.
Have a good day and rock.
Well, they have their own
out.
Abilities. That's the thing. Right? That's the beauty of it.